Well, Oliver, looks like we're live actually. Steve's dropped off the call.
I was going to say, well, yeah, we are, we're live. A bit unorthodox. The good old reliable Stevie Wellings tech has let down again. Although he's still in the chat, isn't he?
Still in the chat, I'm just telling him, Steve. I don't know if you're listening, mate, but it seems to be going out live. The YouTube link is connected up. Of course, if Steve doesn't get back on the call, we're kind of snookered as to how we're going to proceed with this this podcast tonight. A few callers coming on supposedly.
Yeah.
And obviously we need Steve to get people onto the call as well because he's the host. So we're doing our best to keep talking. I don't know, honestly, did you catch in the box now, of course, the last couple of days? Kevin Johnson fighting last night. I dare say if you were absolutely desperate, you wouldn't even watch it still. Shakur Stevenson, I seen the stoppage via a meme on Twitter. And I think Jesse Magdaleno one was it DQ and involved, I don't know, numerous low blows and point deductions and stuff. Do you catch any of that stuff?
I saw a couple of the highlights from the Johnson whack fight, and I turned it off after about 30 seconds. It looked a complete shambles. I think it happened in some hotel room, basically. Really odd. I think, did Whack win? I think I saw Whack won by decision. Hardly a shock, really, was it?
No chance, no.
Yeah, there was never going to be a stoppage. And in reality, was Kingpin ever going to win? No. I don't really know what it does for Marius Whack, to be honest, that win. Being brutally honest, not a lot. But he is one of the active heavyweights now, Andy. That's one thing we cannot deny. Marius Whack is one of the active heavyweights, and you never know, he might be coming for revenge on Dillian White. Jobbed on the cards, out in Diriyah. So who knows? We might see White Whack too. I know people might be clambering for something like that.
This is you were talking there, actually. I just pulled up the rankings and stuff. I can't see anything where Whack's actually ranked at the minute. Even WBA haven't even got managed to get ranked in there somehow. Absolute shambolic.
Whack is ranked, or he's not ranked?
He's not ranked at all, no. But at the end of the day, I mean, it calls for anything. I mean, obviously that last night, you never know. You might get maybe top 15 ranking somewhere. If you Manny Char picking up a belt.
Oh, it was for a belt last night. It was for the vacant Republic of Poland international heavyweight title.
Shit.
So I don't really know how Kevin Johnson qualifies for that unless it doesn't require. It's not just a Polish title, but yeah. Kingpin suffers another loss. Will he retire? Did he announce his retirement? I'm not too sure. He's retired more times than a hell of a lot of fighters. I'm sure he called it quits after who was it? Was it the Joshua fight? And then he came back and boxed quite a few times again. He'll probably call it quits, get another phone call, and the career of Kevin Kingpin Johnson will no doubt carry on.
I suppose, as you say, it's no big shock that that fight went the distance, I suppose. But one shock that did come pretty quick out the blue, and that was the retirement. Alexander Gvozdyk. I'll be honest with you, mate. I'm not really fully surprised this retirement came, because if you remember rightly, he took a bit of a beating after Peterbiev, and ended up in hospital. I think it was for 2 days with severe concussion and stuff. There were some people talking about brain bleeds. I don't think that's true, but I think early 30s. He's had a long amateur career, done okay as a pro, got businesses outside the ring and stuff. I think it's probably right to kind of walk away. If he's been, you never know. Once you start getting concussions and stuff, you never know. You can start picking them up more regularly as you get older and that. So maybe the right thing to do actually after that fight. What do you think?
Yeah, I was surprised because I felt there was still fights there for him. Obviously, he's 33, but he did take a beating off Peterbiev. And as you say, he was in hospital for 2 days with bad concussion. And I don't think we'll ever know unless it comes out further down the line how bad his concussions were. As you say, it can certainly make you susceptible to more in the future. And he's no doubt made good money, but he does have to think of his future. He has businesses tied up. I think he's going into politics. I think I read something like that, which is an interesting move. And but it's not what we've seen it before. Some
You've cut out, Ozzy. You there, mate? It looks like I'm the only one on the call, guys, for you people in the chat and stuff. I don't know what the hell's happened here. Steve is having problems with his computer. It's went for a restart. Ozzy was talking there, as you could hear, about Gvozdyk. He's dropped off the call. I've been trying frantically trying to get hold of Steve and that on the DMs and stuff. There's no response. So if you're listening, Take Ames is supposed to be coming on the call later on as well. He was speaking to Fred Quendo about his situation with the legal matters with the WBA and stuff. He could maybe try and jump on the call, but to be honest, mate, I really need to get Steve on because I don't know if this is actually going out live still. And to be honest, I don't know how long I can just keep talking random shit and stuff because obviously need people to bounce off. Our first guest was supposed to be coming on in 5 minutes as well, ex-world champion. Ozzy's just messaged me back saying his connection's dropped off, so if he's listening, hopefully he jumps back on kind of soonish. Take Ames if you're there, mate. If you try and jump on the call, mate, we can probably try and get you in while we're waiting for Steve. Steve's been basically zero dark 30 here, so I don't know what he's doing. As I say, he'd tried up his computer, tried to go into StreamYard, that decided to update, then his computer was made a forced restart, and for some reason, but he's hosting it, and it's still going out live. So here I am sitting on my own. I've got a nice glass of Jura here, nice bottle of beer, and all you guys are saying in the chat, hold the fort. Right, okay, so I'll do what I can do. Maybe Rob will come on. See, they might be on shortly anyway. Yeah, so basically, Gvozdyk, it was a bit of a shock actually, but as I say, what is he, 33? I don't know how many amateur fights he had. They must have been well into the century mark anyway. Came through that same school as Lomachenko and Usyk and stuff, and they call him Kirtov. So that kind of school with Ukraine, I suppose, is actually kind of starting to kind of die away. I don't suppose we'll see much Usyk and Lomachenko over the next, I would say maybe after the next 2-3 years. That you maybe see these two guys maybe kind of bailing away as well, depending how the bodies hold up as well. So, Take you there, mate. I don't think if you're listening, mate, I don't think I can actually add you to the call because I think I need Steve to add you in there. So I'm basically riding the shotgun here. Ozzy's trying to get himself sorted out ASAP. So basically, here we go. I'm basically doing a kind of shit story time and stuff. So if I go silent, I'm trying to speak to people, trying to kind of get them on the call. But as I say, I'm probably going to need Steve here.
Right, Andy, what's happening? Can you hear me?
There he is.
Oh, you know what? Man. I love living in the countryside, right? Nobody bothers you. You're away. But I think that the technology ain't the best one. Technology ain't the best.
I'm drinking my beer there, mate. I was running dry. I was talking about Gvozdyk and stuff, retiring. There's this you've got Take Ames in the call now.
Take Ames is here as well. What's happened to Ozzy?
His connection dropped off. I couldn't add Ames to the call because obviously you're the host, mate, and I can't add anybody to the call and stuff. So I was doing a wee bit of kind of story time with Shep and that. Just covering basically kind of briefly the action over the course of the last couple of days, which was basically minimal. Gvozdyk retiring, which was a bit of a shock, and just basically was just going to start talking about his career and that. But obviously, our first caller, hopefully, maybe will be coming on shortly.
I'm going to give him a ring in a minute. No, just saying hello to the boys. I see Ames. Hopefully Ozzy will be back with us soon. Good to have Andy keeping things down for us. Yeah, Saul, that's the problem, man. I live out in the countryside and the connection out here is absolutely shit, but it's trade-offs, isn't it? You know what I mean? I love being out in the sticks away from people, but unfortunately the connection is shocking. So hopefully everybody can still hear me. Right, what I'll try and do then is Ames is with us. You hear me okay, Ames?
Yeah,
keeping well?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you absolutely perfectly, sir. Right, Ames, I want to get your opinion on the Joshua Fury situation. Not the bad stuff, just stick to the good stuff. What do we know so far? Is the fight going to take place next year? And then hopefully, Andy, you can jump in after Ames and I'll ring our guest in the meantime. Take it away, Ames.
Is the fight going to happen next year? I mean, what's happening right now is we're being given information that tells us that the fees have been agreed, at least for both sides have got an agreement in terms of a split. Is it 50-50 for the first fight, then 60-40 for the second fight? So there's an agreement over maybe the biggest hurdle on paper, it seems, in principle, that the fighters will fight each other and the agreed purses are there. Now, does that mean that the fight's going to take place? I wouldn't take that the purse has been agreed or the fees been agreed for the fighters as per se that the fight's been agreed. There's a lot of hurdles to overcome still yet. There's no contract for a start. There's no date yet. There's no venue yet. I mean, there's a small matter of a rematch that Wilder has against Tyson Fury, which needs to take place first. Then there's another small matter of Pulev as well against Anthony Joshua, who's waiting for his title shot. So that's the state of the play at the moment. It seems to be heralded right now as a massive breakthrough, isn't it? That this fight's going to be made, the fight we all want to see, the unification, the British unification, isn't it? But for me, it doesn't see, I'm one of these skepticals, you know, what we've had with the past, with the whole debacle of Anthony Joshua and Deontay Wilder before. For me, I'm at the point where I think I'm not going to be pumped up for this fight until I see those guys walking into the ring, or when I see those guys walking into the ring, I will then believe it. So for the moment, I'm holding off from kind of jumping in on this at the moment. But I don't know what Andy thinks about this whole Joshua Fury thing. It's what everyone's talking about at the moment, isn't it?
Well, maybe I'm kind of so on it, mate. I mean, we've been through the Mayweather Pacquiao situation. I agree with you. I don't really care until we see these guys walking to the ring. Really, what do we get? We got an announcement in principle that they're going to fight 2 fights. Big deal. You know, wake me up when we actually get a contract signed and we've got a training camp on the go. Then we can start believing this is going to happen. I mean, as you say, it's not going to happen this year. We need crowds for it to happen. And I think as well, considering the power broker behind this deal, supposedly, what do you think about this fight and where's it going to be? I'm suspecting it's going to be in the Middle East.
Yeah, it's not going to be in the UK. I think anyone holding out for the UK, in fact, the coronavirus and it continuing, I suppose, would be the case or catalyst for it to actually be held place in the UK, what with travel restrictions. But as that eases off, I think we'll see this fight take place in the Middle East, like you say. Most likely, it seems probably Bahrain, I imagine. But yeah, the UK, no chance. Australia apparently is in the running. China's in the running as well, but no, I think it will take place in the Middle East.
New Zealand have got crowds back in their stadiums now, actually, for the rugby. So,
absolutely. Thanks very much for holding it down for me, boys. Delighted to welcome our first guest of the evening. It's former world champion Clinton Woods. How are you, Clinton?
I'm all right, thank you. How are you?
Not too bad at all. How are you finding things during the lockdown?
To tell the truth, without sounding selfish, it's been okay for me because I've had quite a lot to do. A lot to do around the house, around gardens, around my gym, so it's worked out all right. My kids and my wife's getting a bit fed up now, but it is what it is.
Absolutely, exactly. You mentioned the gym there. You retired in 2009. What have you been doing with yourself since retirement?
I had about a year off where I didn't really do much. I picked the tools up again and I started doing a bit of plastering for myself and a bit of gardening and that lot. And then I saw this building, which was my old youth club I used to go to when I bought it to do boxing fitness. Is that
in Sheffield, is it?
Yeah, it's about 5 minutes from where I live. It's a 5-10 minute drive. Like I say, it's from the estate where I was brought up. It's been very good. It's busy all the time, and people are ringing me every day when I'm going to be open.
Yeah, obviously everybody's desperate to get back. Do you keep yourself still in shape then? Do a bit of training and that?
I'm in better shape now than I've been for the last since I retired. I train every day, been on the bags every day, been doing weights every day. Like I say, I've been going on a holiday. This lockdown's, like I say, I've been in gym every day training. I'm probably about 13 odd stone.
Wow.
So I'm not far from what I weighed before when I was boxing. So I'm walking around about the same weight. So no, it's been all right. I've kept myself fit. I think that's what you got to do. I think boxers, when they retire, they've got to get into something. Either get back into work or do something with themselves. They can't just sit around and feel sorry for themselves.
Absolutely, that's a good attitude to have.
Nobody owes us nothing. We're boxing a job. Get back to work.
Yeah, because a lot of people find it difficult after they retire. Boxing's been their life for so long. They find it hard to readjust back to normal life almost.
It has. But some boxers will talk as though like boxing they do it every day.
Yeah.
I'm a pro boxer. I didn't train for more than 2.5 hours a day. So it's a lot of time where I weren't doing nothing in the daytime. So I used to do bits of jobs and working even when I was boxing. Like I say, some boxers will say, I'm turning pro now, I'm going to pack my jobs in. It's one thing I don't get it when guys turn pro, that they pack their jobs in. Because you can only train for so many hours. You go for a run in the morning, what's that, an hour at the most? And then you go to the gym, what's 1.5 hours, 2 hours? You can't train for more than 2 hours. So like I say, I do think when boxers retire, they've got to get into it. They've got to keep yourself busy.
Absolutely, yeah. Just looking over your career, Clinton, back in 2002, obviously you fought Roy Jones Jr. when he was pound for pound #1. We all know how good he was. What was it like to fight him? What did he do so well?
At the time, even though I was European champion at the time, I wasn't in his class. He was in a different class at the time. Obviously, I had to take the fight. I was #1 challenger, so I was the one for him to fight. I went over to America and we more or less like offered him out at a press conference and we got the fight. And rightly so, I got paid okay. His speed, what was the most thing that I could not overcome on the night. The first 2 or 3 rounds I actually fought. If you ever watched a fight, I turned around and I didn't think it was going to be as hard as I thought it was going to be.
Mm-hmm.
And then he catches me. I've never been down with a body shot in my life. And he caught me a body shot in the 3rd round. I didn't go down, but I walked back to the ring and it bust 2 ribs and I just thought, oh my God, his speed, his movement. He'd hit you with 1 shot and then he'd be gone and come back and hit you with another shot. It was his speed at the time. It was a great fighter. He's up there. Unfortunately, it went on too long. Sometimes people always say to me, "Do you wish you'd have fought him again?" But sometimes I'd love to have boxed him again and beat him maybe a year later when I'd improved so much. But he declined so much since he come down from heavyweight. For me, he was never the same. He was knocked out by Johnson. No one talks about when he got knocked out by Johnson. Johnson knocked him out really bad.
Yeah.
Then Tarver actually poleaxed him. He was never the same fighter, and he just carried on.
Yeah, one of our listeners is saying, Clinton, there was talk apparently about the fight between you and Jones being in England at one point.
Yeah, they were talk of Ian Jones. The night I boxed Glenn Johnson, the first. I was treated pretty badly, real to tell you the truth. Got to the boxing arena. They put me in the ring same size as the cupboard. Carl Zaggy were ringside. Obviously, I boxed the fight. I beat Johnson in a really tough fight. After the fight, a security guard called to me and says, "Clinton, you ought to go to a press conference." I went, "Where have you been at a press conference?" He went, "Well, there was." So I went to this room and there were tables, flank one side middle. And there were Johnson, his Calzaghe. So that fight was more or less made before, because they thought Johnson were going to win.
Yeah.
Dennis got in talks with Warren. They said the fight were on. They told me how much we're going to get. The fight were on. And obviously, I think Calzaghe boxed Hopkins instead for a lot more money.
Yeah, because you fought Glenn Johnson in the end 3 times, 1 win, 1 loss, 1 draw. It seemed like you guys were quite evenly matched.
Yeah, but we bashed it. I've always said this. After the third Johnson fight, we bashed each other up. He was never the same, and I was never the same. I had so many injuries after that fight, and Johnson carried on. He boxed Froch, but he never boxed with the same madness. When he used to box me, he was like non-stop throwing shots. He'd slowed down, and I read one of his interviews when he said that he had tired down. The first fight took part out of both of us.
Yeah, one of the guys in the chat, Clinton, says that he remembers Johnson hurt you in the third fight. You dug it out and showed balls, proper fighter, huge balls. So a lot of love for you in the chat here.
Yeah, it was a good fight. Johnson was a tough fighter. And like I said, the funny thing about the Johnson fight is, the first fight, when I first fought him, I had a choice. In my career, I had never had a choice of fight who was going to fight. And they gave me 3 names, and I don't know why. I didn't look them up or anything. I just went, fight Johnson.
Yeah.
I said, put Johnson. And it ended up being, it ended up being good for me. Well, not good for me, I lost against him, but it was good for Johnson, because Johnson was going nowhere at that time. And obviously, he went and made a few million by fighting Tarver and Jones and beating me. And so, yeah, it was good trilogy, and there were 3 good fights. But we did 36 rounds, and they were tough rounds with him.
Yeah, he was a tough fighter, Johnson. Yeah, and you mentioned Joe Calzaghe there. I remember after you fought Rico Hoy, they put him on the line in like a stunt, didn't they, with the BBC on the phone?
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
At the time, I was buzzing. That night, I know a lot of boxers moan about, I weren't ready for this fight, I weren't ready for that fight. For the Hoy fight, I'd never been in the shape of where the boxers will say it, where everything just went right in training. The sparring partners, what I had in training, were fantastic. And on the night, I was in the changing room, and when you're hitting pads and just everything was bang, 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 bang.
Yeah.
And I felt so sharp. And then on the night, the fight was easier than I thought it was going to be, because they brought this American over as like a little bit like the Jeff Lacey. They said they were going to be this, you're going to be that, big puncher, he'd done this. And it ended up being quite an easy fight. After the fight, obviously, Calzaghe on the phone. And the last person I wanted to talk to on the night was Calzaghe. I wanted to go and grab my wife and give her a kiss and go and see all my fans. So I wasn't really bothered about talking. I think they just put the phone down, to tell you the truth. But me and Calzaghe should have fought. I think we should have fought the fight after.
Yeah.
I know what Dennis wears, get a few defences, then fight him. I've always said, on that night when I beat Rico Hoy, I doubt any light heavy would have beat me that night. That night I was in just a great shape. Mentally I was perfect. I had no injuries or nothing. But after that fight, I then started struggling with my elbows, and I had to have 2 operations on my elbows, which really knackered my boxing career up, really.
Mm-hmm. How close was the Calzaghe fight to ever happening, do you think?
Well, I was told I was 1-0 going to and I've always been one where I never thought the fights were going to happen. When they tell me, we'll fight Roy Jones, I never thought that fight was going to happen. I was like, I never even talked about it, and even when my mates mentioned it, I never talked about it, because I just didn't think it was going to happen. Then the Calzaghe fight was going to happen. I didn't think it was going to happen. Well, it didn't happen. But people always ask me what do you think would have happened if it had happened, if the fight would have gone on. I've always been honest with my boxing. I think the fight would have been a great fight. I think it would have been a tough, hard fight. I think it would have been a 12 rounds, but Calzaghe was special. And I think he would have had a bit too much for me. And I mean, I've always been honest. Calzaghe was a special fighter.
Yeah.
To do what he did for so long, my champion for so long, his fitness, his speed, his power, I think he'd beat me on points.
That's fair play to you, Clinton. That's very honest of you.
He would to do what he did all them years, to stay champion that way. And I do believe some of his opponents were a bit, but he did beat some good fighters. He beat some good fighters as well. Some people said that my style might have been all wrong for him with my elbow, with my hands up, but to be honest, I can't see me beating him on points. I had a good work rate, but his work rate phenomenal. And plus, to a southpaw, I never really, all the way from my career, never really sparred with a southpaw. I don't know why they never put me in with no southpaws. I fought Tarver.
Yeah.
The time I fought Tarver with a southpaw, I was sparring with flipping orthodox. I don't know why.
It's a bit strange, isn't it?
Yeah, a bit strange. Well, we got to the gym when we got to the gym in America where the sparring partners were, they were shadowboxing orthodox, and then they switched southpaw, but they weren't southpaws. What
was Tarver like to fight?
Do you want to know something? Everything about the fight, everything leading up to the fight, my camp had broke down and me and my trainer weren't talking.
Yeah.
I should have pulled out the fight 3 weeks before. I'd hurt me back in England really bad. My physio told me to pull out. I was told I couldn't pull out. So the fight went on. It's the only time I've ever walked to a ring knowing I'm going to lose. My best mate were asking me, were begging me to come home back 3 or 4 days before the fight. The fight were on, so I had fans going over to watch me. It's the only regret in my boxing career, which was a long career. I don't know how long it were, about 16, 17 years. It's the only regret that I should have pulled out a few weeks before, because things weren't right. I don't think me and my trainer ever spoke since the day, since walking out the ring. I know everybody blames the trainer, but everything had just gone wrong. We weren't talking. It was a horrible time, to tell the truth. I actually phoned my wife up not to even come to the fight, but she wanted to be there. Anyway, that's the only reason why I carried on boxing. My heart had gone after I lost the title. My heart had gone out of boxing. I sat in the changing room, and they always talk about a loser's changing room, and I was in a loser's changing room that night because there was no one in that changing room. I actually sneaked out of the arena. I went to the hotel and sat and didn't talk to no one. It wasn't a very good time, but like I say, I carried on boxing just to because I didn't want to leave boxing like that. But my heart had gone. I started training with Glim Rhodes again.
Yeah.
Which I was happy training, but do you know when you go for a run and instead of doing that big hill, you miss it?
Yeah.
That's how I were with my last 2 or 3 fights. Even though I'm fit.
So whenever you're going to the ring against Tarver, you've explained the way you were thinking. What's the sort of how just to get through the fight, to go the distance, to try and not take too much punishment? What did you go looking to achieve?
The Tarver fight.
Yeah, the Tarver fight.
The Tarver fight. I can remember walking to the ring and the amount and it's we had a bad time at home with racial this. As I walked to the ring, I always got his racial this, racial that, racial this. It's the first time I've ever had that thrown at me. I got in there, and I knew I was going to lose because the training camp had gone terrible. Argument after argument after argument, it was terrible. I walked into that, I just didn't want to get knocked out. I knew I'd lose.
Yeah.
I knew I'd lose. I tell the radio station a lot. I said, actually, on the couple of nights before, Radio Sheffield interviewed me, and I started crying on phone. And it's not like me that I'm pretty hard, pretty tough guy, but everything had gone that wrong. I just tell them, I says, everything has gone so bad, and they cut it. They didn't air it. I just wanted to get through the fight without getting knocked out.
Yeah.
And I don't think it would knocked me. I don't think it would knock me out if they'd done another 12 rounds. Because it weren't actually hurting me, and that was a bit of a stinker for me because I knew if I'd have been right, that fight wouldn't have been that hard because Tarver were a bit past it. I believe he was past his best at the time, or he was just bad on the night as well because he didn't really hurt me.
No. Tell me about a guy that you shared 24 rounds with, Julio Gonzales, who I believe no longer with us.
Yeah, he was a tough fighter. I actually watched him when he beat Davila Michalewski in Germany.
Yes.
So I always thought that I might be fighting Davila Michalewski. And when you watch Gonzales, because I got videos of him to watch him all the time, he just doesn't look good. You watch him and he's like, me, I'm going to beat him. But he was winning. He was beating good fighters, and he was knocking them out. And then he boxed Roy Jones. Went 12 rounds with Roy Jones, and he did well against Roy Jones. He pushed Roy Jones. So I always knew it was going to be a tough fight. But like I said, when you're watching, you think, well, I'm just going to jab his head off. And that's what you think. But when you're up against him, it's just a different story. He's so long, his shots were so long, and he had spite in his shots. It didn't look like it from ringside, but when you're actually fighting him, he was very heavy-handed. And what a top guy. No, a proper top guy. You know what I mean? We shook hands before, shook hands a bit after. And I still keep, boxing is about the only people to keep in touch with was sometimes the messages his trainers still keep in touch. But tough fighter, really tough.
Yeah, they were two good fights, those. What about yourself? I'm not going to keep you for much longer, Clinton. I do appreciate you coming on, by the way. What about you and Carl Froch around at the same sort of time? How do you think you would have found? I know he was super middle, you were light heavyweight. How do you think that would have gone on?
I think I'd have beat him. I think I'd beat Carl Froch. I do like Carl Froch. I think he's a top kid. And people say I think going to Carl Froch. Carl's, I guess, I think Carl's going to beat me. Carl Froch, I think I'd beat him. I think it'd be a tough fight. My chin gets me out of trouble. He'd have caught me a few times, but I've been in with bigger punches than Carl Froch. I think my work rate. I think I'd have beat him on points. I think my work rate would have beat him on points. Like I said, people are gonna. They did a poll not long back on one of these websites, and they had me beating Carl Froch. It would have been. I think that would have been a really good fight because Carl Froch is a bit come forward, and I could have stood with him. But I do think my boxing skills would have beat him on points. Mm-hmm. Maybe there's going to be a lot of people nodding their head saying now, but I do believe I'd have beat him. It would have been a tough fight, but I'd have beat him.
Going way back in time, 1998, David Starry always looked like an awkward fighter to face. He beat you on points. What do you make of Starry?
Starry. I actually sparred with Starry before that fight, and the sparring were like tit for tat. It was all right. So when I fought him, he just beat me on points. He was a good fighter. But if I brought a book out. If you read my book, I was still playing at boxing at that time. Yeah. I mean, I'd do me and my trainer, and that was it. There was no one around me. There was no one doing me weights with me. No one doing my diet with me. No one doing. I went for a jogging morning, and I went to gym at night for an hour. But I was Commonwealth champion. Mm-hmm. And like I trained with David Starr. He had his trainer with him all the time. He had someone doing his diet for him, and I think that's the only one thing what beat him on won him the fight on the night. I struggled at the weight. It's the first time I ever struggled at super middleweight through being badly advised for taking creatine. I was loading up with creatine every flipping day, right? Which I never took no supplement before. So I struggled with my weight. It's the first time I ever struggled with my weight. That's the reason why I went up to light heavyweight. So I thought, well, I'll go to light heavyweight now. But when I said about playing about boxing and going out for drinks, and I was doing that right up to fighting Crawford. Actually, I was still playing at boxing. Really? Boxing. Yeah. I tell you when I really fought, when I beat Crawford, actually, I thought that's it, and that's when I got in touch with a guy who was doing me proteins for me, and I didn't have nothing to do with diet. I just ate what I wanted. I trained that hard. I used to make the weight. But when you start fighting top fighters, and you got to start making the weight a lot, and that's when I was getting drained all the time. I was sparring more. I was training more. I was getting drained, and sometimes I would go into the gym tired. And that's why it really worked, because I weren't taking nothing else to fill me back up. No nutrition. So when we got that right, I just started doing changes in my boxing, and like I said, I ended up winning world title. But a lot of that is down to nutrition and the way I was living.
You fought guys who look on paper like massive punchers. You mentioned Rico Hoy. I remember Ollie Clementson. You used to bang a few people out as well. Who's the hardest puncher you fought overall?
I think the one who was the artist were Clemenson.
Yeah.
Clemenson. I sparred with Clemenson loads and loads of times before that. I was Clemenson's main sparring partner when he beat Crawford Ashley. And the sparring, he could have charged for it because he went in there to try and kill you in that spot in that sparring sessions. So, and he could whack. He hit so hard it was like a horse kicking you. It was the first time. I think he was the first person to put me down. And Crawford Ashley hit very hard. Crawford Ashley whacked. He whacked be a lot. But I think the only time I ever got hurt be a headshot where I thought, oh my god, and that was my last fight against Tavares Cloud. Tavares Cloud could whack. He hit me with a left hook, and I actually, in a lot of the fights when I used to get caught with a shot, I used to like nod him on or wave him on, and I waved him on, and they caught me with exactly the same shot. And when bell went, I went back to the corner. It's the first time I've ever sat in a corner, and it's just 10 people in front of me. And that's one of the reasons why I thought, that's it, I've had enough of boxing.
Yeah, Cloud was a strange one, wasn't he? He looked like he was really on the way up, and then he lost 3 fights, and then he sort of drifted away.
Do you know what the funny thing about that fight? Obviously, Glim Rhodes were training me. Glim Rhodes, I love Glim Rhodes. He's one of my best boxing mates ever.
Yeah.
But I weren't training like a way for the high fight. I was cheating. I weren't doing my runs or anything. On the night of the fight, obviously for the world title, I started boxing him, and I thought, God, this is going to be easy. But then obviously he took over the fight. He won me. After the fight, I was the most relieved person in the arena. Like, thank God I finished boxing. Thank God. So I went up to his changing room to see him, and he was laid on floor, and he was just gone. And his trainer come up with this great southern accent. And he's going, "God damn man, you one tough mother." And he says, and apparently he says he wouldn't have, if that bell wouldn't have rang, he would have collapsed, because apparently he collapsed in changing rooms. He was absolutely. Wow. And sometimes I think to say, I wish I'd have gone for it them last 2 rounds.
Yeah.
But I weren't bothered. He'd gone. Knowing you a boxer when something goes, I didn't have it no more. I didn't have that hunger no more. I just wanted to retire, to tell you the truth.
And you never thought about coming back at all, no?
No. I got offers. I got a few offers, but now not bothered. It's funny because I watched a lot of interviews from these ex-boxers, and a lot of them said that, oh God, they miss it so much. I don't miss it. I don't miss it at all. Nothing. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the boxing, but I only went into boxing to lose weight. I walked into a gym at 22.
Wow.
I boxed amateur from like 11 to about 15. I had a kid at school. I'm a granddad now, but I had a kid. My oldest kid's 33. So I packed boxing when I was 15 and walked back into the gym at 22 with a beer belly. That's the only reason why. So I only went in to keep fit. So 22, I thought, well, keep fit. And it's funny, a guy rang me today who boxed also at St. Andrews called Robbie Sivia. And he says, God, I can remember me and you being in changing room once, and we were asking about each other what titles we want to win, and you said, that I said, all I want is win in Central Area. that's what I won, Central Area. Won Central Area, I think, the 11th fight.
That's
I thought
amazing.
that was it. I thought the Central Area, but that was it. I didn't think I'd be fighting biggest name in boxing, Roy Jones. And so my career it's a funny career because I weren't that bothered at the beginning.
And you ended up a world champion with 4 defences?
I won European, British, Commonwealth, European, yeah. 2 times Commonwealth. So people say I'm proud of what I did. But I never went into boxing I never thought I'd do this. I never thought I'd do it. I don't think anybody else did, to tell you the truth. I don't think anybody did. The only person who used to say to me, "You're going to be champion," and when we used to go out for drinks now, I used to tell everybody, "He's going to be champ," and he's being biased, and I said to him, "Gior," and it was Neil Pope.
Yeah.
Rest in peace, obviously.
Yeah, he's died, yeah.
Yeah. died tragically, got stabbed. He was the only guy who used to tell everybody, he's going to be British champion, world champion. And I used to tell him, come on, Neil, shut up, stop saying that. And like I said, I ended up doing it all.
Amazing story. Just final one then, Clinton. Do you keep your hand in? Do you still watch the fights, or do you not bother so much now?
If it's on the TV, I watch them. Do you know what I watched over there? I love the 80s fight. I love the 80s, 90s, big 90s, early 2000s. The heavyweight, I thought they were brilliant. There were so many heavyweights. And like Tyson Fury, I'm a bit too old school. I like the old. And like Tyson Fury singing and this lot, and then he's like, his problems, what he had. I watched an interview over there where, I don't know if you've seen it, where he's with Mike Tyson.
No.
Have you seen it?
No.
There's Mike Tyson and Tyson Fury sat there, and they're getting interviewed. And it's about an hour and a half. And you know what else of it? When I watched that, and I thought, oh my God, it's unbelievable. His story is unbelievable. Because he always said he was going to be like heavyweight champion. And he says when he won the heavyweight title, he says it was like winning nothing.
Yeah.
He said the next day, he says he thought that was it. He says that was the beginning of his depression because he'd done everything. And a lot of respect for him. Watching that video, the video was brilliant. And it was quite funny because Mike Tyson were like saying, wow, you won the world title? He thought that was it. Mike Tyson's then going on about what he did after he won world title. He said, I was going out and I was finding ladies and this and that. The interview is unbelievable. It's a fantastic interview. So I do watch fights. If the fight's on TV, I watch it, but I don't follow it. People say, "Oh, so and so boxed last night." So it's a bit embarrassing sometimes. I don't really, like I said, I don't really follow it. But I didn't follow it when I boxed. I just enjoyed the fighting part myself.
Do you think then, Clinton, the fact that you had such low expectations to a point meant you just kept thinking, well, I can maybe go a bit further here, and then after you won the world title, you know, the way a lot of people, as you said, think, what is it Marvin Hagler says, you can't get up and run when you're wearing silk pajamas, but you would just keep going and I can maybe achieve something more here?
I tell you what, the time when I felt like that is when I beat Crawford Ashley. When I beat Crawford Ashley, I thought, I can do something in there, because I'd started doing some work with this guy who was doing me fitness for me, who was doing me diet for me. This guy called John Clark. That's when I thought, well, what can I do now? What can I do now? And obviously, it's like history. I mean, I achieved more than most people. Nobody thought I'd win world title, a proper version of the world title. And like I said, against the guy who was 18-0, it was 16 knockouts. I'm happy with my career, and people always ask me if I've got any regrets. Like I said, I've got one regret, and the regret we're not pulling out the title fight. But that's it. I do think after the I told you before, after the Johnson Free fight, I'm having a lot of trouble with my elbows. I ended up having two operations on my elbows. One before the Gonzales fight, and I will never the same after that.
Amazing story. I do appreciate you giving so much of your time on this Sunday evening, Clinton. Thank you. Thanks very much for joining us.
Right, no problem. Thanks for keeping interested in me, and it's always nice to be remembered.
Absolutely, we remember you all right. We saw many of your fights. You're a great fighter and very honest, so thank you very much for joining us.
Thanks a lot.
All the best. Bye-bye now.
Bye-bye.
Clinton Woods there. Must say, Andy, thanks for you for sorting that one out. I've been doing this for a long time now, 15 years in the game, and that was one of my favourite interviews. That's why it went for so long. So sorry about that. I mean, that's one of the best interviews I've ever done, and I've interviewed Sergio Martinez, all sorts of different people, and I enjoyed that one. I must say that was class.
Right, you try to say that that one with Adrian Broner that you did wasn't on your highlight, your bucket list?
Well, it's up there.
No, but as I say, as I've seen these in the chat and stuff, I always remember that third fight against Glenn Johnson. He got hurt bad. I think it was about the 7th or the 8th. I think he got hurt bad, and he just dug it in. And I think he won every round after that. And I don't know if he won the fight or if he went to the draw. I can't remember what fight that was. The third fight. I think he won the third fight.
He won the third fight in 2006.
That's right.
Yeah.
But Gonzales, the Norwegian lad. The one thing as well about Roy Jones, he was magnanimous to say it today, but he was like, I was outclassed and stuff. But he never really kind of lost his sense of humour, because there he is getting the absolute shit kicked out of him. And what did he start doing? The alley shuffle. It was that was Clinton Woods, man. As I say, it's testament as well. That is the only stoppage defeat of his career. A prime Roy Jones Jr. Absolutely brilliant, man. As I say, he did it not the hard way, but he did it the old-fashioned way. Tough on a coffin nail. Central, Commonwealth, British, European, world title, 4 defences. Yeah, man. He had another chance as well. The last fight he's created to try and pick it up again, vacant belt. But he's bang on. He's should be more than impressed and happy with his career, and that. I think he was a fantastic fighter. He was one of the fighters in that who he was a proper hard bastard, just fantastic to have him on. I'm actually shocked actually as to how well that went, because I wasn't expecting to be chatty. So that makes up for the delayed start and Steve dropping off and Ozzy like vacating the premises, So that was good.
We made it up to you in the end. We made it up to you. Quick one, Ozzy, from you. Clinton, maybe just before your time. I remember watching the Hoy fight and I don't remember the Crawford Ashley, but a lot of them from that point onwards, I always followed him. And it's a bit like when we got Carl Thompson on as well. It's always good to interview people that you've sort of followed for a long time and admired. And I'm sure you enjoyed that too.
Definitely. It was a brilliant listen, and you should never apologise for it going on if you thought it was longer, because I think everybody who's listening now and will listen, throughout the week will enjoy that. And it flowed so well. He was so honest. When he said about Calzaghe that, look, he would just have too much of me. Fair fucking play. Because all too often now it's a case of no one will have the balls to stand up and say, you know what, this bloke might just have a bit too much for me. But he did. And people appreciate that honesty more than all the bullshit, and all the rubbish that comes out, pre-fight and stuff. It was a great, great interview and a brilliant listen. And he's one that you wouldn't get, you wouldn't mind having him on again and recapping over some stuff. And maybe if you hear about other things, because he speaks so openly. And I think he appreciated the call as well, which, makes it that bit better. For him to thank, and say to be, it was nice to be remembered and, have someone show some interest. It shows that, the stories are there to be told. And I think it's great for us that, we can find these out, and, these exclusive interviews, the ones that, we all set up and they're great. And you find out little nuggets of information that if it wasn't for stuff like this, you probably wouldn't hear about, ever.
Yeah, Jason, Neil Port is the guy he referenced in the interview, Port, Neil Port. So if you go and type it into, I'm not going to recap it now because I might get some details wrong, but it's a tragic story, bizarre in some places. So just type it into Google. Ames is on the call with us as well. Ames, thanks for holding things down just as I was getting Clinton on. How are you?
No worries. I'm good. Thanks, Steve. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. From one great interview to another, you're on to talk about the main man himself, Fraser Quenda. Did you enjoy the interview, Clinton, there?
Yeah, no, it was a pleasure to listen to. Clinton's a bit before my time, but I'm always I've been looking for suggestions from you guys, looking for fighters that I've not seen to go back and really appreciate their career. And I thought there was a really interesting dynamic. I've heard it a little bit from other fighters, but from Clinton saying that I was a boxer, but I didn't really follow boxing, which is quite strange to think about in a sense. But maybe that helped him in his career and helped him achieve what he needed, not getting too sucked into the sport, which can sometimes spoil careers, which Frez kind of befell, linking that into Frez's situation here. But yeah, great interview.
Yes, link it into Frez indeed. Obviously, we're big fans of Frez. Next month, I think he won't have fought for about 6 years, but he's still trying to get his WBA title shot. So we're going back to 2013, Ames. That's where this is all starting to do with the WBA landscape and the titles. Sketch us in then. I was a big Frez fan back in the day. We've gone through this before, fighting the likes of Jamil, Big Time McLean. Frez was a good fighter, but it's 2013, isn't it, really, where this whole saga starts?
Yeah, sure. So in 2013, every story has a starting point, and this one it's 2013. It's the landscape of the WBA heavyweight title scene. You've got Alexander Povetkin, who holds the WBA regular heavyweight title until 2013. Initially, he beats Ruslan Chagayev, who Frez and I talk a lot about, in 2011. Povetkin had that title up until he fought Vladimir Klitschko. He lost to Klitschko, and seemingly the regular title was gone with it. However, the WBA would make Klitschko the super champion and continue on with the regular WBA heavyweight title. Thus, a fight would need to be scheduled for that now vacant regular title. So that's where we are in 2013, a situation which involves a main title in the form of a WBA super and a secondary in the form of a regular title, sharing parts of the world title under the banner of the WBA. Now, I think everyone can concede here, like, none of this, like, at this juncture, is Frez's responsibility. The WBA are using this regular title as a vehicle to set up fights with their super champion, as opposed to the conventional ranking system. They aren't the only ones doing this type of thing, as we're all aware of, but this is the type of title littering that we see currently plaguing the sport. And it's this that sets in motion the next 6 years. This leads to the eventual fight for the WBA regular heavyweight championship, as said previously, with Oquendo and Chagayev. Do you want me to get into the fight?
Yes, Frez Oquendo against Chagayev, which took place in 2014. Am I right in saying?
That's correct, yeah. I mean, the fight itself is it's a total non-event, really. One of the most interesting things about it is those at ringside. You got David Hay, Evander Holyfield, Costas Yu, Marco Huck, all seated. But what really should be noted, which is what everyone, including those at ringside, would have seen, is in round 7, the president of the country, Ramzan Kadyrov, makes his way over to the Chagayev corner, comes over, he has a look, he starts speaking to Chagayev, giving instructions, it seems. Now, he's not a second. He's no part of the corner in any shape or form, but he makes further intrusions in round 9, 10, and 11. In the interview, this is where Frez is adamant that this was an injustice and a contravention of the WBA rules. This shouldn't have happened. And there is an analogy that one of his advisors at the time makes, which is, I think, pretty apt. Like, if this was in America and Obama had come in and did the same thing, then everyone would be up in arms. And sure, I agree with that. But strictly, I was talking to this with you in the chat. Like, unless Frez is pointing to something that I haven't seen, I can't see strictly where the contravention happens in terms of the WBA rules, unless I've missed something, or if he's citing specifically Rule 31 regarding seconds and cornermen. Then if that's not the case, then a strict contravention hasn't happened for how I see it. But nonetheless, it's wrong, and I'll just say that the WBA adopted rules post this fight in 2015, so it may be a previous set of rules that Frez is aware of.
Do you know what it feels like, Aim? Sorry to interrupt you. It feels a little bit like, do you remember the Tyson Fury Otto Wallin situation where they started, the ESPN broadcaster started getting word to Fury's corner? It feels like Kadyrov, he's all powerful, nobody's going to mess with him. It feels like an outside intervention is playing a factor some way in the fight itself, possibly.
Yeah, I accept that, but having read the rules, I couldn't see where that intrusion would have fit in with
absolutely
WBA policy of then getting involved, which is a shame because I do think that shouldn't happen. Now, again, like I said, the rules kind of changed at post 2015, so they might have changed something on that side. But I completely agree, and I think everyone would agree, that shouldn't be happening. It's no different from Steve, me, or you going up and telling the fighter we're watching, what to do and throw this and that. But nonetheless, Frez does what he should do, and he submits an appeal. But we'll get to that in a moment because there's stuff about a kidnap involved. It's where it gets kind of murky. Tom Satas, someone you've had on the podcast a couple of times, he recalls after the fight they were taking Frez to a hospital for a brain scan, but they were initially kidnapped and forced by men carrying automatic weapons to go back to the arena and made to submit to a RUSADA drug test. Frez also took a USADA test around the same time, and we'll come back to that shortly. In regards to the money, though, Frez was for this fight. Frez was promised a purse of, it was initially $250,000, but at the time Frez wasn't training because he had problems with his wife, who had an induced labor, and they were both in kind of grave danger due to complications of the birth. So Frez put down tools in terms of training for the fight, and the big fight in Chechnya was kind of in jeopardy. So he gets a phone call. Look, before he gets the phone call, his purse is raised from $215,000 to $500,000, which he rejects. And then he gets a phone call from Kadyrov, and Kadyrov tells him that, Frez, I need you. This fight's in jeopardy. You're going to get $1 million. Come on over. Frez still kind of isn't swayed. So essentially what he agrees on, the pretense of him going over, is the $1 million, and the kicker was a rematch clause, which was the loser could initiate a rematch within 120 days of the initial fight without any fights in between. But in regards to the money, the $1 million purse, Frez recounts that he was escorted by the Proteron Chagaev side into a sketchy room in an attempt to renegotiate the $1 million purse. This is real movie stuff here.
Is this all verbal agreements at this point then?
Yeah, well, I believe it's verbal. Frez hasn't told me it was like put in contract. But in some of the court documents that I've read, there's verbal agreements to check on the rest, as it were. So there's an acknowledgement from the other side that there was more money due to Frez. So as far as I'm aware, this is all verbal. But in terms of this sketchy room that Frez was brought into, he was offered money. He was offered money inside a suitcase full of $200,000 in cash. Now, there's no way he's getting that through customs. So Frez rejects it, and he wants his full purse naturally. So he gets home, and the promotion company paying Frez wire him $215,000 now. Not the $1 million, not the $500K, but $215,000.
The original figure that had been quoted by Kadyrov.
That's correct, and he never gets it. And this is where Frez not only holds the promotional company, but the WBA responsible, as he feels they were aware of the money that he was due and didn't support him or help him in claiming that money. In fact, he feels that in that time of need, they looked the other way. He's further thrown into this way of thinking when he makes an appeal on the basis of the repeated intrusions. And I believe it's the 12th round that ends early as well, and no commission. In short, the WBA denied his appeal and rejected his contractual rights to a rematch. So that's where we are at this point, if you're still keeping up with the story.
Yeah.
So Frez then he decides to litigate. At this point, the WBA and Chagaev are looking to move on and have Chagaev fight Pianeta, I believe. Frez isn't looking like he's getting his money or the rematch either, so Frez litigates. He litigates Triple C Terek boxing event for $5 million in damages and an injunction to prevent the promoter from promoting Chagaev in any bouts until he's given the rematch he was promised. I won't bore you with all the details, but the judge affirmed Frez's right to the remaining purse. The judge blocked Terek, the promotional company, from promoting any future Chagaev matches for 18 months or until it scheduled a rematch. It was a legally straightforward case, just with sensational facts. But the legal aspect is, do you owe Frez this money? Yes. Have you paid Frez this money? No. Pay Frez his money. In terms of the rematch clause as well, the judge affirmed that Oquendo would suffer irreparable harm that cannot be remedied by money damages if he is denied a rematch, and that any other agreements made by the WBA or other boxers who have pending bouts with Chagaev won't be impacted negatively, as they would have likely been aware. Terek tried to make counter arguments on one of them being, if you remember the drugs test he had to submit to, the Rusada test came back positive for women's breast cancer drug, and his USADA test came back negative, whilst Frez campaigned for neutral drug testing, which he didn't get. But he believes this was all part of a big conspiracy, essentially bait him over with $1 million purse, have him believe he tested positive, and then ensure he accepts the reduced fee on the basis of that positive test. Plausible. That is plausible if you look at the way. Like, I don't know if there's anything in that, but I believe in its plausibility.
Well, can I just add there, actually, have you seen, right, Rusada's came back with a positive test. Who was in charge of that? Grigory Rodenkov, who was the guy who came up in the Icarus film as well. Remember that guy?
Yeah.
Who shows you, eh? And USADA came back negative.
Yeah. Rusada came back USADA came back negative. Rusada came back positive. And it's during that time where Rusada got suspended for this type of tampering, wasn't it?
Rusada is like the Russian doping agency,
yeah.
Right? Yeah.
So I don't know if anybody's seen the Icarus document. Obviously, I know you have. That was the one about that Brian Fogel. He was a cyclist, and he was basically trying to just do tests.
Icarus.
Yeah, so he's trying to do tests. He's trying to do this amateur race, whereas he's trying to do it clean. The following year, he does it dirty. He speaks to Don Catlin, who was in charge. like say you saw a test and stuff like who was going to help him, but they says, no, I can't do that. So he goes to the guy who's head of Rusada, Gregory Rudenkov, who became chief witness of this whole shitstorm that happened with the Russian situation with drugs and how they kicked out the Olympics all the years ago and how they're still banned and stuff. So remember as well, just off that, Lucas Brown claimed that he'd never ingested anything. He was closed off. Obviously, his meals were in the hotel and stuff. He was in Chechnya as well, having to fight. He came back positive. He still maintains that he was innocent.
What about Chagayev, Ames? I don't know if you mentioned this or you going. Isn't there some murkiness about him testing positives as well after the Oquendo fight?
There might be. I haven't got that to hand. The murkiness with Chagayev is they couldn't find him. Apparently, later on in the timeline, he was due to fight Oquendo again, but the negotiations didn't take place because apparently he'd gone off the radar. But it turns out he'd retired due to loss of vision. But I'm not sure about. There might have been a positive test to do with Chagayev, but there's
what you said might be right. I knew there was something going on. Yeah,
there was an interesting point when I was reading some of the case law. Like, I'm not a lawyer, but I'm just going on from what I'm reading. Like, it says regarding the rematch clause in the WBA's resolution declining to enforce the Frez's rematch clause, the organization would be willing to sanction the bout if the court found the rematch clause enforceable, even though it says a few lines above that the WBA has made exceptions and sanctioned rematch fights where they were promised in contract to which it was not privy to. So it appears that this is where Frez holds credence to his injustice claim. Essentially, it's like, why can't I? You did this for another, but you aren't making this easy for me. Why do I have to go through a big hoop of litigating to enforce something that you've enforced for others? And I can understand and appreciate that. You'd like to think it's an equal playing field for everyone on any front, but Frez didn't get that.
Plus, you gave me a list as well of missed fight opportunities involving Frez. So you got Frez, the rematch, obviously, against Ruslan Chagayev, which we thought was going to happen. A fight between Frez and Lucas Brown. Chagayev rematch then comes up again. Shannon Briggs, his name's thrown in. Alexander Ustinov. Then, I remember this, Frez, they're talking about him fighting Manny Char. Then that came up again. One person on the list, you throw Trevor Bryan into the mix as well. It all gets a little bit messier.
Yeah, sure. So after the judge's affirmation that Frez is due this contractually obliged rematch, the WBA did try, it seemed, multiple times to give him that rematch. Chagayev, the rematch, Frez was injured in camp. Lucas Brown stepped in and consequently knocked out Chagayev. Lucas Brown, a fight was ordered, but he tested positive for steroids and Lucas was stripped of the title. Chagayev, again, as we touched on, Shannon Briggs in the lead of that fight. Briggs tested positive for random drugs test, putting that fight to bed. Ustinov, this is where Frez says members of his team conspired against him alongside the WBA, wanting to overlook him, and the fight wasn't made. Char, the fight was booked but then cancelled after Manny Char tested positive for banned substances after taking a VADA test. And this has led to another court battle. There's lots of moving parts here. Like I said, positive tests, fights cancelled. They weren't his fault. And recently, this Char battle, it's posed like another legal battle where he believes, again, he was due a sum of money. As his side of the argument, in paraphrasing Frez, he says that the contract states that if the fight is cancelled, Manuel Char versus Frez Oquendo, this is due to a positive test, the money due would go to the person harmed by that positive test, therefore Frez. And there would have to be a new contract for Frez to sign, not the old contract with the money that was due to him. So not that old money, that should be his money, he believes. But if a new contract is made, a new one with new money should be put in place. And he's been battling that ever since. And this is where we come to like the recent ruling that he's had. It's gone in favor of him in regards to him and Manny Char and others that he's litigated against. He looked set to face Trevor Bryan. The recent ruling rejects attempts to dismiss Frez's case for turnover, restraining order, and damages. Frez explained that there was a 45-day period in which to respond from the other side, which I believe has passed. So we should get an update due imminently. Like, he might get the money he believes he's due to him. He might get the fight he wants. It's still unclear as to what's happening, but it's a step closer to a resolution that's been needed for this case.
What type of spirits is Frez in? Is he in good spirits? Is he a bit down? Is he trying to fight this out and get that last fight and that last payday? Because you sort of might as well do. I mean, what's he mood-wise? Is he in?
Mood-wise, he seems all right. Like, he puts down his faith as the reason why. Because I asked him, like, Frez, why haven't you packed this in? Have people told you not pack it in? You're not going to get anything from this. And he says his faith is a massive motivator. But then another telling thing is someone who's really stuck by him is WBC head Mauricio Sulaiman. He says if this happened in the WBC, now take this for however you want it. If this happened in the WBC, this wouldn't have happened. Essentially, Mauricio Sulaiman would have sorted it out from the offset, and we wouldn't be in this mess 6 years later. Now, I talked to him about something that maybe was sort of similar, where Mauricio Sulaiman's taken action to something specifically. So, do you remember? Was it Martinez versus Edwards recently? And obviously, you can have the debate of whether he should have done it or he shouldn't have done it. But the point is, he took action to something that was believed to be wrong and put paid to that. Now, Frez believes that would be the case if it was that fight and that banner, he'd be fighting under, but he's not, unfortunately. But that's a big motivator for him. But also his motivations are the fact that he does need the money. I believe he's currently in a bankruptcy case. So he's really is fighting here. But alongside the money, he believes he's due. Like, he wants two things. I'm not sure if he wants both or he'd be satisfied with one without the other. But he wants to be crowned champion. Recognition that apart from the injury and can be suffered, even though you can't really say it was his fault, none of the other fighters scheduled, which didn't materialize, weren't through Frez's doing. So acknowledge him as champion. And two, let him fight for it. Give him that fight for which strictly he hasn't had. He still hasn't had it. They've made attempts to give him his rematch, but he hasn't had it to this point. So that's why he wants that kind of opportunity for that rematch.
But this is the organisation that has about frigging 74 belts under each. I mean, surely if anybody could get a belt and get a shot at something,
they've got fucking Manny Char as a belt holder, for fuck's sake.
You know, can they not just make one up, Ames? You think of it?
Well, I don't know. Do you give him the title? Do you let him fight for it? He's 47, 48 now. And this all started when he's 42. Like, he's been, I mean, he made the choice to litigate. So that takes a long period of time. But this whole issue has taken away from time which he could have been earning. Obviously, he wants to hold the people who believe accountable for what he believes they've done. But I don't know. It's interesting that he actually still wants to fight because, given his age, given that he's obviously going to slow down in the ring, he's still training and he still puts out videos to show that he's training for that fight. So I actually do believe he does want to fight for it. And I think even if he was awarded the title, he probably still want to fight for it as well, like in the ring, like defend it. But I mean, from Frez's perspective, like, he believes he's been denied like the closure he's been looking for his career, denied money he believes is due to him, which he's likely not to ever get because he's suing a company who've to this point not paid up $775,000. He's not seen a penny of that yet. And it's accountability. He believes he's been wronged by the WBA, what he perceives to be corruption and incompetence. He calls them black-hearted for how they've treated him and says that, for example, like I said, the WBC would have done something differently. Like, for me, without knowing the full details, it's hard to say. There's likely been missteps along the way with everyone involved, but it could have been handled like a lot better. But the WBA have tried. Those fights they did make, they neither fell off by the WBA's doing either. Those fighters at that time, it seemed to tested positive or whatever the case is now. But at that time, the WBA had taken action for those who tested positive. But what I would say is Frez has, as the judge said originally, suffered irreparable harm so far. No money yet, no career, lost friends, all because of this. And accountability aside, I like to see Frez get what he's due. Now, whether that will be either through an agreement of the parties involved or a judge through further litigation, I'm not sure. But most of all, I just want to see a resolution that finally sees us move on from this whole thing.
Yeah, I would think so. I think it's maybe 6 of one, half a dozen of the other, but I do think Frez has been wronged. Josh Foster saying, why didn't he have any fights in the meantime? I think he's holding out for this one, and he probably knows himself deep down as well. There's a chance that at 47 years of age, having not been in the ring for 6 years, Ames, he could get picked off by somebody trying to make, say, I don't know, 20 grand, 30 grand or something as a tie over, and then this whole situation is rendered moot point.
Yeah, no, exactly. And then as well, it might harm his case as well. He goes into fighting other fighters as well. It's all very hearsay up until this point. But yeah, I think he's right to, if he feels that and he is right. The judges, American judiciary have sided with him. He's right to have litigated. He's on the right side of this so far. I forgot a point I was just about to say, but no, it's escaped my mind. I apologize.
Well, no, it's okay. Where can people find your full-length interview? Give everybody a shout out because you have your own channel. It's excellent. I'll go on there myself. Tell us about your interview with Frez, where we can find it, and what you're doing.
Sure. So if you aren't familiar with Frez's situation, obviously I've given you like a rundown here, but there's a load more of stuff that like I haven't touched on here. And the interview I did with Frez about the WBA kind of serves as a one-stop shop for pretty much everything that happened to him from 2013 up until present day. So check it out. It's on Boxing News TV. It's one of the recent uploads, and it's like 2 hours and 70 minutes long, and it will give you from Frez's perspective everything that he's had occur to him, his insights on some fights that weren't made, his insights on some fighters who were going to possibly replace him. I think Adamek was in line if Frez didn't turn up to Chechnya to fight Chagayev as well, alongside Shannon Briggs as well. But there's all sorts of little tidbits as well, and I just kind of walk through everything, and you'll get the rundown after the interview. You'll be caught up with everything that's happened to Fred, and hopefully the future as well. But yeah, it's on Boxing News TV. I'm also on. I've got my own channel, Take Aims. I do stuff a little bit differently. TAKEAYMZ. Follow us on Boxing News TV and my channel, my Twitter is TAKEAYMZ as well for updates on it. I'll be looking to follow up with Frez soon once he's got an update on that, and we'll update you on that as well. But I wonder what you guys think about it. Like, who's in the right, who's in the wrong? What's the resolution you guys want?
You said, yeah, this is the thing. I'm sure Ozzy's going to come in now, but it's hard to say. You've done all this digging, and I wouldn't say that you're 100% confident either way as well. I think more so Ozzy than being just a case of Frez is right or wrong and being Frez's plight, which we often do laugh at, you know, when we had Tom Satas on and that. But it's also a case of this is what's going on under the belly of boxing that sometimes people aren't seeing as well.
I feel sorry for him. I really do. It seems like he's been completely screwed over. I mean, we've heard stories about, you know, out in Chechnya and Russia and things like that, how dodgy it can be. And I mean, the fact that he was lured over under false pretense of, you know, this $1 million purse or whatever, and then the Russians tried to, you know, fob him off with $225K in cash. Well, he's obviously not going to get that through. So it seems like it's been completely corrupt. I mean, the one thing I would say is that he should never just take, I mean, word of mouth is worth nothing. If it wasn't signed, you know, at $1 million, then it's one of them, isn't it? He said, she said. But the fact that they just purely refused to pay him his purse originally was a disgrace. I certainly think there's probably more than what that hasn't been revealed. But what I would say is that the WBA have clearly not come out well from it. Yes, they've been unfortunate in the fights that they have scheduled, that the fact that basically one of the two fighters was doping in every fight, or they were either busted for a test or they were caught doping in, you know, a pre-fight. But the thing is, though, these days, I can't believe they just couldn't find a replacement. So what was it? Was it Oquendo Char? Why did you need to wait for Char? You know, like, Oquendo was there. He didn't get busted, was it? Char was the one done. I'm sure they could have just pulled in some absolute no-mark just to basically get rid of this Oquendo mess, and it never happened. I certainly hope he gets what he's owed. I mean, what was he owed from the Char fight? Did he disclose numbers? What was it? Say $150K or something like that?
Yeah, something really bigger.
Yeah, so I mean, is he still owed money from the Chagayev fight as well? Did he ever receive?
Yeah. So this is it's well,
so I don't understand how he's not received that when a court of law has ordered them to say you have to pay it. So he's owed, for example, he's over at about $400K. That's big dough. Wow, that's massive money.
And the other thing as well is, Ames, am I reading or did I hear it properly? If the winner of, I don't know if this fight's going to happen at all, but if Manny Char and Trevor Bryan win, is this the fight that Oquendo's looking for?
Oquendo, as far as I'm aware, Oquendo's trying to stop that fight from happening.
Right.
him inserted in that fight. I presumed against it would be Manny Char.
I can go in that James. I want that fight to stop happening as well.
But sorry, just on the that's kind of the first misstep, because if you're Fraser Kendo, you're an advisor to Fraser Kendo, the first thing you'd want is that money in escrow that you're due for that Chagger fight, wouldn't you? 100%. So there's been
you would want it in escrow without doubt. But you would want it at least a week before the fight. Listen, that was like Duran, Leonard, Hagler, and that Ali. See, like fights back in the Indies, money was put in escrow, Foreman. Yeah. So that money had to be in the bank by at least a week before the fight, and then the balance would get paid maybe when they set a foot in the ring or after it, or whatever, and that. But yeah,
he shouldn't have been going out to Chechnya with no money locked in and things like that. And as we say, he was taken into a dodgy room, and they tried to pressure him to take, the original person, and they just decided not to pay it. It's a disgrace. It's an absolute disgrace.
I agree on the money being an escrow thing, but at the same time, maybe sometimes fighters think to yourself, it's take a chance, go out here, maybe get paid something, or get paid frig all and then get pushed away again, back down the rankings. I'm just saying the thought process that might be behind somebody who doesn't wait for the money in escrow. They maybe haven't got all that many options.
But the thing is, we're not talking, like $30,000, which he could say, basically, I can win and write it off.
Yeah.
We're talking originally he was going out there for $1 million.
What I was going to say actually was, Ames, was that fight, was it sanctioned? Well, it was sanctioned, but was it a mandatory defence by WBA title? Surely they, if he's fighting for that belt, there's got to be either a purse bid for that fight to happen. I would think Shaggy Kendo. There's no way anybody's going to pay for it apart from a guy in Chechnya. So
actually, I know somebody who might be on it, Andy. Saul
Farah. But I think it is, if that is like a mandatory defence or something like that, those purse bids would need to have then been lodged with WBA. So people know what is supposedly being offered or getting paid. Yeah. Surely they would need to follow that shit up.
That's the thing. Like, I can't confirm off the top of my head if it was. I think it was, but this is the thing. Frez is adamant the WBA were fully aware of what he was due to be, the payment due to him, and they haven't done, as far as he's saying, anything about it for him to receive or claim that money back. So that's where his kind of disdain for the WBA comes from. And
I know a couple of times as well from memory that some of the fights that did go to bids, Andy, a bid was lodged with the WBA and it wasn't enough. So I know for a world title fight, you need to say it needs to be a minimum of, say, $150,000 or something like that. And I think somebody bid about 70, and that obviously isn't enough to make the fight happen. So I'm sure if I was to go and look back, I'd be able to find it. But that happened a couple of times as well, from where money was put up, but it was just not enough for the fight to go ahead because it needed to be a certain amount because it was a version of the world title.
Yeah, true. Ames, I've sent you a message there in the chat, mate. So my offer's there to help you. If you can get you know who about you know what, I'll offer my services to you for whatever you. Yeah, exactly, mate. But I'll leave you with this caveat: be expected to be asked to see the questions.
Yeah. No worries. Like,
100%.
I'm happy to interview anyone. Like, I'm not one of these people after having heard this just going to pick it up and put it down. Like, I do want to see a resolution that does suit Fred, to be honest with you. It does seem like he's in a situation right now which just is terrible for any boxer to be in. But like he was saying as well, like the people around him haven't helped him either. Like, apparently there was a meeting between Char and some of his representatives in Bulgaria. And he didn't actually, they didn't go on Frez's account. Frez didn't even know this meeting was taking place. He had to find that out on the internet that was happening. So there's a lot of things going against Frez in the start of those people who he trusted in that position to look out for his best interest, but haven't been. So I think that's the best thing about it. I think from a legal perspective, like, I'm not a lawyer, but I'm studying, like, it's that boxers holding people accountable for that. And I'd like to see more of that. I think it's fair to say that there's not enough of that being done. And if you find, get advice and you find they have legal recourse, like, don't be afraid to do that. Like, it'll take time, but you might get your resolution that you look like your duty, which Frez has got. It's not followed through just as yet, but he's done that.
Absolutely. Good luck to Frez. Thanks to Ames for coming on and telling us what's going down. You're welcome back anytime, Ames, to talk about this or anything else. You can stick along for as long as you want. I know you have stuff that you need to be getting on and doing, getting the mountain of Frez paperwork moved through. But thanks for joining us anyway.
No worries, a pleasure. I'll leave you guys to it. I'll be in the chat.
All the best. Cheers, dude.
Ciao.
Take Ames there. One of boxing's good guys. There's not many about. The other two, Andy and Ozzy, are still with us. Episode 377. We're going to be getting onto the light welterweight or super lightweight tournament shortly, then going on to Bellew of the Weeks. Bit of a different one this week. A couple of great guests, a couple of problems, but we're managing to fight on through it as best we can. Let's get on to the light welterweight tournament then. I know, Jason, you sent me a message this morning with names, but I haven't had a chance to look through it. Marcus Bellinger has also sent me the 4 quarterfinals as well. So, we've got Corrales Castillo. Yes, I did watch that. Watch that during the week, Corrales Castillo. Keep forgetting about that feature, unfortunately.
Remember
Corrales Castillo.
Pre-prime 90s fighters as well. Chris, mate, we've got a load of talk about this. Only
we're going to have to get the hell on with it. Bit of Shakur Stevenson going through his fight with Felix Caraballo, punch by punch as well later on. Don't think that's going to happen. Let's get on to this light welterweights then. 2 minutes or less for quarterfinal number 1. I think we'll get down to about super featherweights or featherweights probably before things get back into the swing, and then we'll knock this on the head. What we've got so far, might as well carry on. As I said, Jason, Marcus Bellinger had already sent me stuff in this week, so I've had to ignore your message. Right, so first one goes to you, Ozzy, quarterfinal number 1 of the light welterweights. You have 2 minutes or less on, if it ever appears, Ricky Hatton against Arturo Gatti. Prime for prime. Ricky Hatton against Arturo Gatti.
Yeah, toyed with this one. Bit back and forth, but I'm probably going to side with Ricky Hatton, to be honest. I ultimately think that we've seen Gatti, that he certainly has his flaws, and that I think his will to stand there and trade and get into a war would ultimately, I think, would suit Ricky Hatton. Hatton was certainly a bit of rough and ready. Love to target that body. And was certainly in his prime, particularly going up to that Zhu fight, was, not saying it's by no means the perfect fighter, but, you know, he'd had a bit of everything style-wise. And I certainly think he'd drop Gatti. I think Gatti would probably battle through. But I'd probably side with a one-sided's not the right phrase, but a comfortable win for Hatton, and Gatti would be. I certainly think Ricky would take some shots as well. We saw that in the Zhu fight as well. Hatton wasn't by no means, it was all plain sailing, and I think Gatti would certainly land some shots. But I think, in my opinion, Hatton had ultimately come through, winning by 5, 6, 7 rounds.
Ricky Hatton going through to semi-final number 1. I agree. I think Hatton would have come through that one as well. Andy, quarter-final number 2 going to you. 2 minutes or less on this one. Miguel Cotto against Timothy Bradley. Miguel Cotto against Timothy Bradley.
Yeah, it's a hard one. Especially if you talk 140, Cotto's tight at the weight. Look at the gas tank. I think a bit love more than do fight, actually. I think Bradley's got the good gas tank. Look at the pop. But I wouldn't be surprised to see Bradley maybe outwork him. Win on points, maybe gradually on points. I mean, you remember as well as at 140, Bradley went to England. They beat Junior Witter. I think he got dropped there against Kendall Holt and come back win that fight. Beat Lamont Peterson. Obviously, the fight against Devin Alexander, which was shit, but it was still 1 against 2 at the end of the day. People are going to say that I'm picking this purely because what I've said about Cotto in the past, but I think Bradley beats him on points. I just think his ethic, his output, just basically bothers Cotto. To be honest, Cotto will have his moments. He'll rip his shots and work the body, and that, especially early doors of the fight, he'll look $1 million. But I think as that fight goes into the kind of business end of it, I can see Bradley up in the gears and just kind of keeping the pressure on, and maybe even just sneaking out in points, split decision on 15-1-13 type fight to Bradley.
Tough in that.
It's a tough one.
I thought it was the hardest one out of the 4, personally. I thought it was really tough. I thought it was your biggest 50-50 of the lot, I'd say.
Yeah, just looking in the chat, the guys
Chuckwoo,
are saying...
there we go. Chuckwoo, what did I say? Chuckwoo just picked it up, eh? Yeah, wanker. Yeah, dick.
Cotto75 says knock it. It's a tough one, that.
It's a hard one. Listen, I'm being honest, right? Because, listen, we're talking 140. Go watch Cotto. Even at 147 against Clotty, for example, he was winning the fight easy. And then, like, as the fight gets kind of later on in the half of the fight, and you see, if Clotty was just up the pace, he'd have won that fight. Margarito will leave that fight to the side. I just think, I'm taking it into perspective here. And remember as well, as at the latter half of 140, Cotto is simply training just to make the weight. Never mind just fucking sparring and stuff like that. He's making weight. He looked like death against Malinaki trying to make that weight. I'm just be honest, like, in my opinion.
No, I think you're right. The guys in the chat seem to be enjoying it. Chuckwoo says this list is AIDS, so he's not happy about it, but everyone else seems...
Chuckwoo.
Come on, give someone else a chance, Jason. Right, anyway, quarter final number 3.
I love this one.
Ozzy goes to you. Marcus Bellinger extraordinaire. It's Costas you against Marcus Maidana. Costas you against Marcus Maidana.
Love this fight.
Go ahead, Ozzy. 2 minutes or less to you. I think I know who I would pick.
I would go. Oh, tough. I would probably go with Zoo.
Next question: points or knockout? It's got to be points.
Yeah, points. It's actually. I mean, to be honest, I think the most we saw Maidana was when probably in one of the ones was when Khan dropped into that body, and I think a bit longer, and then that would have been. There's every chance Khan could have got him out of there. I think Zoo would have ultimately had too much for him. Maidana was good, but he wasn't a one-trick pony, but you kind of knew what you were getting from him. Very rough, rugged, very aggressive. Could bang as well. I mean, look, I still to this day said he hurt Mayweather. I know that was up at 147, but I think he had Floyd hurt. I mean, knocked his tooth out, but I think Zoo would have been... He's the far superior fighter, in my opinion.
The Kotelnik fight, Ozzy, maybe tells you a lot about what you would have seen.
Yeah, and for me, Zoo would have just been... He's the better... I certainly don't think he would have got him out of there, but I think it would have been relatively straightforward, to be honest. As always, you may have the odd scary moment with Maidana, but again, I think it would have been pretty straightforward for Zoo.
Yeah, well said. I agree with that. Final one, Andy. Quarterfinal number 4 goes to you, 2 minutes or less, on Kendall Holt against Ruslan Provodnikov.
I'm going to go Provodnikov by stoppage. Not to say that Holt's no a good fighter or anything like that. I mean, he has got some good names in his resume. I just think over the course of his career, he had shown a wee bit of fragility. He had been stopped a couple of times and stuff as well. So I'm going to say Provodnikov would just get to him, I would say, about 10th round. Yeah, I'm going to go Provodnikov.
Yeah, Provodnikov was a big puncher, very game, but he came forward in straight lines. And I think the Chris Algieri fight says a lot about what you could have done to Provodnikov if you had a decent jab and a bit of movement.
Yeah, as I say, I'm not wanting to see, like, I'm kind of hating on, like, say, like Kendall Holt, who, by the way, had on the podcast and a bit of a tough upbringing as well, taking into care, severe abuse and that as well as a kid. Has that big one-round knockout against Ricardo Torres. I think it becomes world champion and then goes on the road at some point as well. As I'm sure it was. I don't know if it was the first or second fight, but he ends up getting beat off Torres. It might be the second fight. First fight, sorry, got beat off Torres.
Was that in Colombia? The one when someone
yeah.
grabs him or something through the ropes and pulls him over? Some weird shit goes down, doesn't it?
But weird shit. You should see the scorecard. So anyway, he's winning the scorecards 98-91. The other scorecard, he's going at 95-94. And then on the third scorecard, he's getting beat 95-94. So yeah, it was a lot to play for in that last round. But in the day, he ended up getting stopped. And I just think there's a wee bit of fragility about him. So I think Provodnikov would, in the end, break him down. And I think about the Bradley fight, which I watched about a fortnight ago. And Bradley as well. I mean, that guy was concussed for the first or second round and stuff, and how he dug that out at the end of the day as well. And I think he was coming off that Pacquiao fight as well, because obviously it was the first fight, and I think he'd like gained a lot of weight because of negativity behind the decision as well. And I don't know if that had something to do with it, but it was a mess that entire fight. Timothy Bradley, like.
That's a bit of a straight. What's that? Alan Willie says, Belly of the Week, Steve Wellings for bottling it, talking about Hearn's comb over. That's awful. What? when did I bottle it talking about Hearn's comb over?
Well, exactly when I've said that Hearn's got fucking plugs.
Why would I bottle that?
We're talking about...
I didn't even know that was a thing.
Oh, these tossers.
That's just a bit strange. You'll have to explain yourself, Alan. I'm not sure. By all means, hit the thumbs up button or the thumbs down if you don't like us. No problem. On to semi-final number 1, Aussie. We have, let's have a look. Ricky Hatton against Tim Bradley. Ricky Hatton against Tim Bradley. Aussie.
Oh, Bradley without a doubt. I think Bradley is. I think you can look back at his career and it's potentially Hall of Fame worthy, in my opinion. He fought pretty much everybody, Timothy Bradley. And whilst I picked Hatton to beat Gatti, I think Bradley would have been far too cute for him. I don't think he would have hurt. Andy said it right, but Bradley just lacked the pop. I think if he could have been, hit hard, he would have been, fucking hell, what a fight it would have been then. But no, I think Bradley would have completely outclassed Hatton, to be honest.
Yeah, by the way, sorry, I know this is like something else, but Bradley is your first ballot Hall of Famer for any of you guys.
Personally.
I would say so as well. Like,
yeah, definitely.
At the end of the day, it's not all about wins and losses. Well, I suppose it is all about wins, but I think it's about achievements at the end of the day. And again, I think it's about the era that you fought in and guys that you fought as well, because Bradley fought to get out of that Gary Shaw contract into the top rank and kind of chased that Pacquiao fight. Yeah. And whatever means what you think about, he's still got a win, even though he didn't win the fight as such. But, the guy had balls, man. He fought just about everybody that won the fight.
He's got wins over 2, Hall of Fame guy in Marquez and Pacquiao. Only ever lost to Pacquiao. Again, pretty much. I mean, I would have liked to have seen the Khan fight.
I was going to say, actually, do you actually remember?
I don't think Bradley wanted that fight.
I don't know, because I remember they both bumped into each other at ringside one night, and I don't know what the fight it was, but Khan's walking past, Bradley staring at him and stuff like that, and Khan dropped the line and says, "Oh, good to show you. You showed up, you showed some balls and stuff," and Bradley's looking at him. I don't know, I mean...
There's no reason why it couldn't have been made.
Exactly. I mean, considering who Bradley fought, why would he duck Amir Khan? Because Khan ducked nobody, and they did Timothy Bradley. To be honest with you,
you can't even say because Khan is not. He will fight. Like I said, he got in the ring with Canelli. He doesn't fight anybody.
Exactly.
But yeah, I would say if anything, it might not necessarily be a duck. It might just be one of them. But I'm not going to shoot. I'm not shooting on Timothy Bradley. Look, like I said, his CV is one of the best, and like I said, certainly a first round ballot Hall of Fame, and he would have completely outclassed Ricky. I think it would have been a bit of a
I'll tell you what it would have been, Ozzy. It would have been a bloodbath because Bradley's head going fight in against Hatton's skin.
Oh, dogfight. Yeah. I was going to say, it's a good point that actually, Steve. Think about it. You think that fight could have been stopped on cuts, or Hatton maybe even pulled out, considering how he was for getting cut around about the eyebrows and the eyes and stuff like that,
Okay, so we've got Tim Bradley going through. Andy, second semi-final is with you. Costas you against Ruslan Provodnikov, an all sort of Russian affair, really.
Remind me, did Zuno train Provodnikov for a fight?
I might have done, actually.
Was it the Castillo fight?
Can't remember.
Trying to remember. I'm going to go Kostas. I'll say he does it on points.
Provodnikov not being able to see out of his eyes.
Yeah, basically. But I just think Zoo's far more polished for him. His amateur record is fantastic at the end of the day as well, Kostas Zoo's. And that's even before you get to what he did as a pro. I mean, he was like pound for pound ranked for how long? Unified champ. Yeah, I think Provodnikov never stopped as well, I don't think, was it? I think I'm right in saying that. So I'm going to say Zoo does it widely on points. Maybe he could force a stoppage purely on mercy by the corner to pull him out. maybe swollen eyes or something like that.
You know, Andy, because he was such a hard hitter, and you could imagine Provodnikov's face
Yeah.
looking like that woman who had all the liposuction a few years ago. You know, and it's all like all over the place.
I'm thinking about the fight. What was it? He was badly cutting it.
Provodnikov.
Was it eye?
Oh yeah,
there was Alvarado or something like that.
There was that picture went around when it said you don't play boxing, and he had 2 horrible cuts.
Like a ghost.
Yeah, it was.
Looked like Josh Warrington after a beating.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that sticks in my mind as well. That, but I think So think about 2 ways. I would say either Zoo on points or maybe even a mercy stoppage by cuts. Just to kind of maybe the punishment he's putting on him as well, because there was no defense with him, was there? It was just purely defending with his face. But he was like Provodnikov was your archetypical 1-3 combination fighter. And you would say, well, Andy, where's punch number 2? Well, he took the second punch. Oh, he threw the first punch, took the second one. You fucker, hit the third punch. So I'll say Zoo. I'll go point just to be awkward.
Yeah, I think you're right. He probably would have gone the distance, even though Sue was a massive puncher. Okay, so go on to our final. We'll let both the boys have a go, say a minute each on this or whatever. First to you, Oddsy. Then it's an excellent final for the light welterweights. Thanks to Marcus Bellinger at Marcus Knockout over on Twitter, who's done the business here. Timothy Bradley against Costas you, Ozzy.
Points are alright, eh?
Yeah,
it's
definitely got points written all over it. And I'm going to go with... I'm probably going to go with... Yeah, probably Bradley. Timothy Bradley. I think it'd be a great fight. I don't think it'd be bland, boring. I think ultimately Bradley is... I think his speed will probably cause you a few problems. Can box... Without a doubt, again, I'd be amazed. The only way I'd see a stoppage is if there was some freak injury. They're certainly not getting each other out of there, and probably side with Timothy Bradley. As we've just said, he's got a Hall of Fame, Hall of Fame CV. Didn't duck anyone, but beat good fighters as well. Beat all styles of fighters, and I just think he'd have that all round package from who he's been in with would have enough to see off Zoo.
Boys in the chat are split. Paul Dugan says Bradley. Knockout Box says Sue. Boxing's First. Shout out to him. He's got a good channel. Go and follow Boxing's First. Actually, he's doing some good stuff over there. He knows his shit. Tricky one that I'd side with Bradley just. So it depends who you go for, Andy, on our winner. If you obviously go for Bradley, then we'll put Bradley as our winner for this week. If not, I'll have the final say. So go ahead. Who are you going for?
It's a hard one. I'm thinking more along the lines of Zoo. Maybe the power might have a wee bit more difference in the fight. Bradley could be a bit more well in a kind of shootout. I'm going to say Zoo on points. 160, 112 type fight.
I think even closer than that. I'm thinking 115s, maybe even a split or something. You could have a trilogy out of these pair, couldn't you, really? 2 or 3?
Well, you could. I must admit, one of the most satisfying performances I've ever seen Costas was knocking out Julio Cesar Chavez, actually. I know it was an old man in that, but it was like passing the torch type thing. But yeah, I'm going to stick with it. I'm going to say Zoo on points.
Yeah. Boxing First. If one's that close, there is no right or wrong answer. I think it's a toss up, but I'm going to go for Sue as well. But if they're fought again, it could be Bradley. That they could swing back and forward all the time. Yeah. So it wouldn't discount what Ozzy said. With no great confidence, I would pick Sue. Oz.
Well, I'm a fan of the draw, to be honest. So yeah. But no. That comment from Boxing First is spot on. There's no real right or wrong answer in this. It's that close. You can make an argument for both. And as you say, if they were to fight, fight 6 times, it could easily be 3 apiece or something like that. A draw in there. It's a good fight to think of. Enjoyed that list. I thought it was good. Some of the styles in there have gelled extremely well. You'd have seen some wars out of it. I enjoyed that. It was a really good list, well put together.
Just to let listeners know as well, Steve, I don't know if it'll be on this channel or the old YouTube channel, with Matty D speaking and interviewing Kendall Holt as well about his career, his personal upbringing, and obviously his downfall, because I think he got involved obviously with some drug dealing situation. I don't know if he done time in that, but obviously he goes into detail over the situation as well. So Kendall Holt, so you're going way back, almost 10 years now actually.
Yeah, I hope Holt's all right. I don't think I follow him on Twitter, but I often see him back and forward, and he seems to go through different stages of his life. Like he was big into religion at one point, and then he was a big atheist. You know, it was all about atheism. Now he seems to be into astrology and star signs, and it always seems like he's maybe searching for something. As you say, he has a bad background, but it's well worth a listen. That interview, I remember it at the time. I'm not sure if it's on this channel. It might be on the other channel, like you say. But yeah, shout out to Kendall Holt. Corey Spinks. Try to slim him down into the tournament, maybe. You never know. If anybody wants to send in a list, do so. Marcus Bellinger sent in the super featherweights, but we need a lightweight list. We need a featherweight list, so chuck it in if you want. Yeah, Chuckwe, come on, man. He done a good job, didn't they? Shout out to Chuckwe in the chat. Shout out to Knockout Box. Boxing's First, Take Aims. Who else is knocking about in there? MB. Dave Tricks, Paul Dugan. Yeah, good to see you all. Right, lads, let's move on to the fight for this week before we go on to Belly of the Weeks and finish up. Diego Corrales against Mr. Jose Luis Castillo. One of the great fights, Andy. One of the great finishes. It's often mentioned if you were going to show someone what the sport of boxing is all about, then this fight is exactly that.
Well, it's certainly that anyway. I mean, obviously, the thing is what I forgot it actually happened on Cinco de Mayo weekend, and the place wasn't even sold out. But you had Chavez sitting ringside with Young Jr. And I think it's fair to say that pretty much all those rounds kind of like rolled into one. Round one, I mean, they were doing the business very early. Goosen just basically telling Chico he's got to keep that chin tucked, because obviously, Castillo's just looking for that left hook, body and head. Wasn't landing so many low blows actually, but he was kind of like maybe kind of like known for. You can see it in round two as well, as Castillo's ripping the body. Inside fighting's just glorious, man. For about the first 4 or 5 rounds of that fight, it was just absolutely fantastic. I thought Castillo was getting the better of it too, actually, in round two. But I didn't think Chico, he was in it all the way. He pushed it, everything he did, especially in round two anyway. Whatever Castillo hit him with, he came back with the same kind of punches or tried to match him. And I thought he stunned Castillo pretty late in round two. There's trading hooks round three. It's just phone booth action. It's all it is, man. It's just absolute chaos. Just action continues through round 4, 5, 6, wherever you want to go. Castillo's maybe kind of, I think, around about the kind of midway point. I think Castillo's probably he's more natural at the weight actually, but he's putting the pressure on. It just goes back to toe-to-toe action. I think it was around about round 7, it was definitely round 7. Chico's got the swelling under the eyes. You hear Goosen getting maybe kind of not so much desperate, just try to remind him actually. You got to kind of keep your chin down. If you're going to just didn't hold your feet too long in the middle. And in the end, I think it was about round 8 and that you did see Corrales trying to kind of like pop on the jab, and for a wee while anyway, about round 8, I think it was not so much, but we were expecting like over the course of the last 5, 6 rounds and stuff, you had phone booth action that, but round 8 it was like bombs away, it was brutal. I did think Castillo was winning that half of the round, and then Castillo kind of came on strong. And then you got round 9. I thought it was better work was coming for Castillo. Didn't think there was much output for Corrales. At this point, you could say that it was definitely kind of weathering it a wee bit. Then round 10, which I think we should maybe leave actually until all the guys think about how the fight went, because round 10 is just incredible. I mean, it's just think about this fight is 2005 fight of the year, and round 10 is probably like the comeback of the year. I mean, I think Corrales is, to me anyway, I think he's tiring, he's languishing a little bit. Dropped early off the left hook, and then he's dropped again for an additional 8 or 9 count. Goosen just gives him that memorable quote, "You better get fucking inside of him now." And then they meet up, landed shots. I think he caught him a left hook, Corrales. In fact, he actually took a few right hands, I think, Corrales, before that. And then he hits me a left hook, maybe a right hand, and then hit my left hook. You can hear Bernstein say, "He's hurt with a hook." And then follows it up, and you're just like, it's incredible. You know, Corrales, he spit the mouthpiece out, he gets points deducted, trying to kind of stall the fight, legal tactics and all that sort of stuff. Every old man trick in the book. And it was one thing anyway. Even though he was still the favourite, he was probably getting beat at that point. He always had a wee bit of the chance with the power, and he dug it out in the end. Fair play to him, because Corrales he couldn't respond to it. And I thought Corrales was coming on pretty strong in the end of that. Well, obviously as well, he's dropping Corrales twice in round 10, and he gets dropped. He gets stopped like 30 seconds later. It's actually an incredible fight. And obviously we can mention the rematch, but it's a non-starter really.
Yeah, Ozzy, it's amazing to think that Corrales never actually had another fight after this one. What do you think about the spitting out of the gum shield? People talk about gamesmanship, but fights of this magnitude are sort of won and lost on little, things like that. It did push it in Corrales' favour. Where do you stand on that gamesmanship?
It bought him precious seconds, which he was desperate for. He was punished for it. That's one thing he was. It's not as if, Tony Weeks let it go by. He was punished by it. He had a point taken off, and it was a case of he'd been dropped twice. He had a point off as well. And of course, that is part and parcel of boxing. I don't really, it doesn't affect me. It happened before that. It certainly happened after it. I found it interesting that Corrales basically stood there and traded from the off. I mean, it's not as if, Castillo had barely been budged before that. So to take that approach and that style of fight and basically fight Castillo's fight, I thought was a really interesting tactic. I had it a lot closer. I watched it again. I had it a lot closer, basically prior to the stoppage. I certainly think Castillo, and Andy was right. I think it was the end of round 2. I think Castillo I think he wasn't hurt, was he? He was more, like rock to his boots type of thing. It just caught him a bit. Great fight. I certainly think Castillo looked massive in there and was certainly basically not taking up, but he was, I think the size was starting to tell. And then you get into round 10 and what a round. You just... There's no way you can describe it better than watching it, because it was unbelievable. Huge shot to drop him first time, gum shield out. You obviously had, like the interference a little bit from Joe Goosen in the corner as well. Get inside on him, dropped again, gum shield out, jumps up again, puts it in. You've got to get inside on him now. And then from that, and it was right, it was a hook on, and he was on the ropes, and it hurt Castillo. And it stopped him in his tracks. That was it, because Castillo was coming forward. And then after that, just the way the finish was outstanding. As I say, bear in mind, we hadn't seen Castillo, barely budged prior to that. So it was an outstanding fight. Round 10, again, was an unbelievable round. Castillo just he didn't have a clue. And it was, like I said, 30, 40 seconds before, if you would have said that would have happened, you would have laughed and said, what are you taking? What are you smoking? There was no chance of it. And he was defenseless. It was an assault, basically. He was just defenseless. The rematch, again, was a bit of a non-event. I mean, I watched it. Castillo looked fucking huge in there compared to Corrales. And it was, like I said, the left hook that knocked him out was an outstanding shot. But he botched the weight, didn't he, Castillo? And I think he just came to beat the guy up. But what a good fight. I think it's one of them you don't get bored in watching it. But I had it very close prior to the time of stoppage. If anything, I probably would have sided to Corrales by a round or so. If anything, I thought he was well in the fight. And for a guy that, like I said, he started taking a different approach and kind of playing into the hands of Castillo. But it kind of, in a way, he certainly wasn't outgunned, and it was an interesting tack, but one that made for a brilliant fight.
Yeah, Jason, sorry, you're quite right. It was my mistake. I meant Corrales never won again, not never fought again. Sorry about that. Boxing's First says, what were the official cards? At the time of the stoppage, Daniel van der Vila had Corrales ahead 86-85. Paul Smith had chomping burgers at ringside, had Jose Luis Castillo up 87-84, and Lou Moret had it the other way around, 87-84 to Corrales. So Corrales was ahead by a point and 3 points, and Castillo was ahead by 3 points on the other card, according to BoxRec. Anyway, yeah, Andy, it's interesting. The guys are going back and forward saying, could Castillo have got a knockdown against the ropes? Could he have taken a knee? You're talking split second. He was caught in a whirlwind, wasn't he, by Corrales? I can't even really speculate about the finish because he was caught completely, and Corrales absolutely piled it on him. Yeah. And you're talking split seconds.
Well, the thing is, I think Castillo was wobbled or definitely knees buckled at some point in that fight. I think it was round 4 or whatever. I need to go back and check the notes. But again, Corrales, when he hurt him with the left hook, and Castillo's trying to come back at him. Castillo Corrales just hit him with straight, solid shots, and he couldn't respond to it. And what do you do? I mean, yeah, you take a knee, or B, you hold, but you just can't, because at that point he's gone. He took the left hook. He's hurt. He's badly hurt. He tries to fight back. He misses 3 shots, I think it is, and then Corrales chins him at least 3 or 4 shots. He's up against the ropes. He's all at sea. Pretty much defenseless as well.
He was defenseless on the ropes.
Exactly.
I don't think he was there. I don't think he knew what was happening. As Andy said, he was all at sea, and he got caught, and it was a brilliant finish. Bear in mind, from what Corrales, he'd been dropped heavily twice. So to pull off a finish like that, he saw blood and smelled blood and just went boof. And that is how you finish a fight.
Okay, boys, everybody enjoyed that. Go back and watch it on YouTube if you haven't seen it already. If you haven't seen it already, what are you doing here with us? Episode 377. Andy's here, Oz is here. Yep, so one of the guys in the chat was requesting a particular guest or panelist. I'm not sure who you're referring to, but all I'm saying is anybody who's here is here because they want to be here. And either if people aren't on the call, it's because they obviously can't because of work or whatever, or they don't want to come on. Everybody's welcome. Happy to have a full panel. Don't know where the Yanks are, but whoever you're referring to, then let me know and I'll give them a shout if it's a guest or whatever, or a former panelist, and see if they'll come back on. I think it was Will You Stand 86 was looking for somebody. Charlie or Charles, or not really sure who he's referring to. Anyway, hit the like button, hit the dislike button if you think we're shit. Let's move on to Belly of the Weeks. How could you dislike Belly of the Weeks? You've got plenty coming up tonight, Andy, anyway. I know you've got a few stacked, locked and loaded.
Yes. Absolutely.
Absolutely. Right, Sam Dorset, first nomination for Anthony Fowler. Fowler was on his Instagram. Ask me a question. Somebody sent in a question. Do you still cry when watching back the Fitzgerald loss? Fowler said, I've been too busy collecting belts, my friend. And then he showed a picture of him with a WBO Intercontinental title and the WBA, whatever the hell that is. So he's too busy collecting belts.
We'll move on for him. What an absolute roaster here, man.
Only the one for Fowler this week. Sam Dorset nominated that one. Ross Phillips nominated Bellew. I think we had this nomination last week, but I forgot about poor old Ross. On the Talk podcast, they've managed to drag Tony Bellew out of retirement. Eddie Hearn asked Dana White a question about what it's like to deal with Conor McGregor. Just as he was about to answer, as the president of the UFC, Tony jumps in for some reason and decides to answer the question for him. It's just funny reading it. I haven't actually seen it. Not only did he answer the question himself, he literally went on a 4-minute rant. So Tony, they've managed to wind him back up, and he's back on the scene well and truly. Andy McGee has been nominated by Terry Woodfine. Talking about Dillian White, Mr. McGee said, the guy who twice defeated Chisora, that Team Wilder long ducked and defeated the rated Parker in a thriller, turned back the estimable Rivas. So who has Wilder defeated? Stavern and Ortiz. I'll take Parker over both of them, and probably by KO. Okay, Andy, fair enough. This is one from you, Andy. Kevin Lorena on boxingscene.com. Bradis would be easier for me than Dortico. Well, hopefully Lorena's back on the juice if he thinks that.
Yeah, I mean, listen, what's his last 2 wins? He beat Ferret Arslan. What age is Arslan again? 47, 48? Who was one?
Arthur Mann as well, who's shite.
Arthur Mann in German. There was one before it, another old man that he beat. Any day, I mean, listen, he's decent. I'm not going to say he's anything great, but he needs to step it up a wee bit. A wee bit, and Bredis or Dortico would be an absolute fantastic start. But to be honest, I think both, especially Dortico, and I maybe say Bredis would maybe stop him late as well.
Okay, Smiggers Titties _IFL has nominated Ryan O'Hara over at O'Hara Sports. Let's talk, says Ryan. Well, not for long because he deleted this soon after. I don't know why. Is Alexander Gvozdyk a Hall of Famer? I think that's a difficult question to answer, says Ryan O'Hara. Is Alexander Gvozdyk a Hall of Famer? I think that's a difficult question to answer. Well, he wasn't going to answer it because he deleted it shortly after. This is in the light of Gvozdyk's retirement, actually. And Montero on boxing also got stuck in. He got a little bit confused, actually. He thought it was Alexander Usyk and not Gvozdyk who'd retired. So, Alexander Usyk retires from the sport less than a year after suffering his first pro L. What are your thoughts on this? Was 33 years old, only 18 bouts, but was the WBC and lineal 175-pound champion. Also took bronze in the London Games. Well, he's given us there, Andy, a bit of a rundown of Gvozdyk's career, obviously. I know he won bronze at the London Games, but looking at him as a pro, 18 fights, 33 years old. He did win the WBC title. The lineal championship kind of came with it. There's no way in hell this guy can be in the Hall of Fame as far as I'm concerned.
No, without doubt, mate. He's not going to be in the Hall of Fame. But I just think, as I was saying to guys start the show and stuff, 18 fights. The amateur career, I know he was in WSB as well. I hazard a guess what as him as a Ukrainian fighter, how many amateur fights he's got. I would say well into a ton anyway. Well over 100 fights. I just think with his businesses outside boxing. And considering how that fight went against Peterbe, I mean, I think he got dropped, was it 3 or 4 times? He's in hospital for the entire weekend with concussion. And they're saying to Ozzy in that as well, as usually, well, especially, I know Ozzy is an NFL fan and stuff, but if we've seen some stories like that with some of these players who get concussions and stuff, once they get one, it's quite common that they get another one, even after a light hit or light contact and stuff. So you wonder as well as how bad was that concussion? Yeah. And would it be enough for him to, at 33, look, listen, I've made enough money, I'm a millionaire, I've got businesses outside the ring, do I really need this hassle, making weight, taking more punishment, and, put in hospital for an entire weekend just to kind of like go over his brain scans and stuff like that? I think it would, especially the kind of more sane amongst us, would maybe kind of wake up and just think, right, yeah, enough's enough. If you've got kids and a wife and that, you might say, yeah, enough's enough.
Moving on, Lewis, former guest of the pod, been on a couple of times, good guy over at Big Right Hook, responded to the Squared Circle, who tweeted out, your top 5 underappreciated current boxers are, Lewis said, Callum Smith, Ryan Burnett, Dillian White, John O'Carroll, and Jaime Munguia. David Almond has nominated him for that. This is an interesting one. Go ahead, Oz.
What a stupid list. I'm absurd, but what an awful list that is. Underappreciated. Absolutely.
AKA Skins is back on the loose, Andy. Leaving comments in IFL. Imagine if it was like football where the crowd was split into AJ and Fury fan sections. Atmosphere would be unbelievable. I must confess, I haven't watched a Tyan Booth video in months and months on end. So is Skins still a thing?
Yeah, what was that tweet again? It was
Martin at New Age Boxing put the casuals up with Eddie, and then apparently it mustn't be the real Skins. I don't know whether it is or not, but he's putting in this message below Eddie's video on IFL. I
remember Rob mentioning him actually, aka Skins. It was a running joke for about a month on the podcast and that. But as soon as I seen the AKA Skins, it's just for some reason it twigged something in my brain. That's why I put it up in that. So I'm not too bothered if it gets any other nominations, because I think Ryan Garcia should be getting a vote this week. I've got fucking 2 votes for that wee bitch this week.
Coming soon. D-Dog 2014 has nominated the Italian newspaper that put up a picture, apparently a fight between Fury versus Joshua coming in 2021. They actually put up Michael Hunter instead, superimposed him next to Fury. Hunter said, AJ looking sharp in this Italian newspaper. Fury himself has been nominated here by Zico. This fanny comparing himself to Ali after the last few pronouncements. He's got a picture of Fury standing over Wilder and Ali standing over Liston in the famous photo. This pic is in honour of the greatest Muhammad Ali, taken over 50 years apart. Greatness is comes from within. Hashtag iconic. Hashtag greatest. Hashtag thanks, Dan. Oh, no, we didn't put that on the end this time. Tyson Fury, anyway, putting that one in. Lewis Kelly has nominated Carl Froch for his podcast. I can't remember that one, Lewis. Sorry. I did watch it at the time. Sean Stevo has nominated Charlie Zelenoff. Frankie Gavin apparently was crying that he hadn't been given a WBA belt that he won years ago. I've decided to donate one of my UBF boxing belts, says Charlie, to Frankie. I've got hundreds, limited fighters, only a few. Keep strong, buddy. It's en route at Frankie Gavin.
Oh, it was harsh on Gavin. He had 2 belts pinched, didn't he?
Oh, is that right? Sorry, I thought he hadn't received one. I know Derry Matthews hadn't received one.
He'd had a couple of belts stolen. I'm sure one was the Commonwealth, and may well have been some like trinket WBA belt. But yeah, the Commonwealth is obviously a respectable title. I think he'd had it stolen.
Well, he's getting a UBF belt en route from Charlie Zelenoff. Anyway, this could well be my winner this week, boys. I'm sure you've seen it knocking about the interwebs. Danny Robson at DClop6 has nominated the Ultimate Boxer. This is what's on everybody's minds, of course. They tweeted out a little infographic. Who is the most underrated boxer of all time? The most underrated boxer of all time. And the natural list, these 4 guys came to the fore. Dillian White, Derek Chisora, Juan Manuel Marquez, and Vitaly Klitschko. Who is... I mean, did they just pick 4 guys at random here?
Exactly. I mean, it's like, it's like I'll go and hit the hash pipe and I'll just think about fucking 4 boxers. Like, I mean, Dillian White, underrated. Who's he rated by apart from the WBC? Del Boy was
even rated. They don't rate him.
Exactly. He's meant to be manager challenger like Dillian. Sorry, mate, you're getting passed over. Just like a used condom, you're getting thrown aside. If I'm going to say anybody's underrated on that fucking list, it's probably Big V. Marquez is without doubt first ballot Hall of Famer. Dillian White hasn't even won. Has he even beat anybody without a foreign accent? I don't know. But Del Boy, well, they put it this way: would you have beat Del Boy without the juice?
Good question.
Twice. Big V, took time off, had to rebuild. He was called a quitter, and then redeemed himself against Big Lewis.
Who's underrated though? He made loads of money. He had a brilliant reign. He came back. I mean, how's he underrated?
What was that, Oz?
None of them are underrated.
I don't know. Ultimate Boxer, anyway. I think they deleted it. Deleting's cheating.
Exactly.
I was going to say, I just tried to look for it then, actually.
Look at the moobs. Oh. Look at the moobs on Dillian White in that picture. By it.
It's a good one.
I mean, that's a B cup at least, isn't it?
It makes me think it's a troll post, when I say that. It must be a troll post.
You see it? You see it? The wife says probably it's a B cup.
Andy's a secret fan of Dillian White anyway. Look, should take on board what he says about Dillian White. I've seen messages where he's praising Dillian White. So.
Well, Dillian White's been on the podcast. We gave him, props. We asked him about the drug testing and stuff like that as well. The first time, of course, not the second time, because he'd been non-communicado was at that point. But questions were put to him, and the listeners would, long-term ones anyway, would remember it.
Yeah, good guy. Good guy, Dillian. I interviewed him once. He was on one of the Frampton undercards, bizarrely. Him and Denton Vassell. I think it was maybe Frampton Avalos. No, it
must have been. It was quite funny though to see him accusing Joshua of taking drugs, and White was positive, and Joshua still roams free.
I liked him when he first came on the scene because he was just straight talking, and called people out, and he was calling. He called Joshua like he called him by his name, his
Fermi
name and stuff. Yeah, and then he's boring now. It's this sob story that he never gets opportunities in. He's a walking, talking contradiction, isn't he? But early on, he was quite good, like calling Joshua fake and things like that, and he's ultimately proved right.
He actually got called out by Porky this week. I was watching one of Porky's videos, and he did well. And Porky sent me this message. Actually, let me just even bring it up for you.
Bean! Would have been, could have been, should have been, never been. Baked bean, creepy bean, beanie, Rumpelstiltskin. We're on to you.
I came in from Russ this week.
Fucking hell, man. I get about eight messages off of my day. I'm like, dude, just like, calm the fuck down.
He wasn't happy about Dillian White though, so he sent that in. He sent me this as well. Hang on, let's see if I can get this other one.
There's talkers and there's smoky bacon walkers.
Smoky bacon walkers, actually, they're good.
I've not heard that before.
Keeping it real. Anyway, interrupting Belly of the Week here. Moving on, Franny 550 has nominated Billy Joe Saunders for talking about the main man himself, getting fights made. Hashtag thanks, Dan. Sam Dorset has got nominated. He's put in a few nominations. He's also got nominated by Kilo Jake. Mikey Garcia versus Spence was basically Duran versus Leonard. Duran versus Hagler was basically Mikey Garcia versus Golovkin. And Duran was competitive with both. That's how good he was. Nomination there. What else have we got? Joe Kennedy, Cougs using his platform to legitimise Daniel Kinahan.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Hey, by the way, can you give a shout out to Kieran Cunningham? And Ewan, is it Ewan, what's his name? Ewan McKenna?
Alan
Yes,
Dawson
Ewan McKenna,
as well. Alan
Yep.
Dawson was another
These
one.
last 2-3 weeks, man, they've hung their balls out there, by the way. So it would be good to see some of the more kind of mainstream guys do the same.
Well said.
What can you do when Bob Arnold comes out and kind of supports the situation? Though? What the fuck do you do then?
That's boxing. It's the same sport. Joe Kennedy nominates Charles Martin to Anthony Joshua. Drop the IBF belt. Let me fight Pulev for the vacant title, says Charles, getting himself back into line for a shot at the title. Here's one, Andy. I'm sure you saw this one. Sam sent it to me from Against the Ropes, friend of the pod, Sam. I'd seen it during the week. Ginny Fuchs, sex-caused violation, exonerates US Olympic boxer Virginia Fuchs from doping ban. United States Olympian boxer Virginia Fuchs has been exonerated from a doping ban and she will not face any punishment for failing a test after USADA determined the violation had been caused by, what was she trying to say? It's cut off here.
Fellatio.
Has she been taking down some illicit substances or something?
Listen, mate, I showed it to my wife today, right? And she's like, I showed it to her, she says, look at this. And she's looking at it and she says, right, okay. And she's looking at me and she says, what are you thinking? I went, I'm thinking about the fucking first male person who's going to come out with the excuse that I swallowed some fucking male's cum that was loaded to the fucking gills with like tricypipate, steroids, testosterone, gorilla cum, the whole fucking shooting match. And I'm saying to her, I says, look, but how much has she swallowed to fucking test positive? Because, you know, usually, I mean, I'm not a porn star, but like when I come, it's like a wee bit off the end. You know, it's not like a fucking mountain load. So what's she swallowing, man? It's just, it makes no sense. And look, the badness of me, I think, is about, as I say, I just can't get it out of my head. Fair play to her come out with this excuse, but her boyfriend loaded to the gills with fucking steroids, and she's fucking post. I'm just thinking about some male is going to, apart from Orlando Cruz. Who else is going to come out with this fucking shit? That
Yusuf.
Yusuf Mack, basically,
Well, Kevin Lorena, didn't Kevin Lorena pop for something that was caused in pregnancy?
Yeah, it was. I think he got caught for some. Was it the morning after pill or something like that? He was, or it was like he was taking some sort of female steroid that was this
some hormone that's created.
Yeah, that was it. Because he took steroids, it was suppress his system, so he had to take some female estrogen or something.
He'll have the last laugh, Andy, whenever he gives birth in 9 months' time. Will it be exonerated?
What a fucking mess, man! But the thing is, you know, fair play to her, she got exonerated off that, and they've not got to go back and probably even quantitative. You know, they say, well, how much do you need to swallow? You know. But at least we know what end of the SOS she was at the end of. You know, she wasn't at the start; she was at the end of it. You know, so. It's fucking fantastic. You know? there's got to be people far more clever than me, more IQ than me. Like, there's got to be thinking like that. It's just really, fucking seriously, this is the best you can come up with, and they're like, yeah, sure. I'm like, let's just fucking pass it by. I'm like, fuck it. I have never. And listen, I'm not considering I'm not an expert, obviously, but I read about drugs, Lance Armstrong, Tyler Hamilton, all that sort of stuff, the cycling stuff, and the EPO and all that. I have never in my fucking chuff heard about someone testing positive because they swallowed fucking a man's fucking semen. Ever. It's fucking unbelievable. Now, I've heard about Mike Tyson, for example. He snorted some cocaine, and he got that greedy that he licked it up on his tongue, kissed his missus. She got drug tested because she was out in some sort of kind of bail. I forget what it was. She got drug tested like an hour later, and she fucking tested positive for cocaine. And they got it fixed to it. So listen, come back 6 hours later. Here's what happened. And she tested negative. So I'm like, fucking Jesus Christ. Only Tyson could fucking do that shit. But yeah, this is the first time I've ever heard of someone either drinking, ingesting, or snorting cum and failing a drugs test. But it's just the wife's fucking behind me talking and laughing about it. She's like, what the fuck?
Well, the bar's been raised.
She must
now,
know
Andy.
that her boyfriend's going through fucking some sort of fucking steroid abuse. It's got to be in the house. There's got to be syringes. There's got to be tablets. There's got to be some sort of liquid. His balls got to be shrinking. He can't be sexually active as much. He's not got the libido anymore because he's taking these fucking. He's like a fucking gorilla. What the fuck?
What's the next excuse going to be? We've gone from castrated boar to frigging burgers.
Can you imagine? I got shagged off a fucking a silverback gorilla who's like a massive specimen. They come back look like a fucking like. Just come on. Intimate contact. Yes, very intimate contact. I stroked his shaft and I swallowed his man. Come on.
What's this one, Andy? I've seen a few people mentioning about this. That old dude meat swinging on Callie Solan's quiz is another level batshit crazy. I saw people mentioning that.
I know, I've seen that.
I think during the week. No, I haven't seen that either, actually. You have to let us know. Anyway, yeah, that's quite Ginny Fuchs has gone right up in my estimation, actually. Yes. I think she could be. She's up there, Ozzy, with Ultimate Boxer. Have you got any nominations?
No, none from me.
Nominations for you, Andy. I know Ryan Garcia's getting it.
Yes. Ryan Garcia, yeah, absolutely. No, I'm going to go with Chris Mannix first. He was on I don't know if he was on some sort of sports show and that, but he basically said that I'm not sure how Marvin Hagler would do against guys like Demetrius Andrade.
Is he still pushing that Andrade?
So that basically confirms how much of a fucking idiot that guy is, by the way. Jesus Christ. I've got 2 votes for Ryan Garcia. This little bitch, bathing in tears. He's basically he's furious at the zone. It's fucked. It's fucked up how I'm being treated here, right? So he's basically moaning like fuck that he's only getting offered $200,000 against Francisco Fonseca. Like, it's basically a tune-up fight. Fucking Hagler didn't even get that shit for his fucking first world title fight, man. He's saying here, like, for example, he says, why am I being held back financially? Pandemic. And who the fuck you actually fought, you little bitch? He's basically been made wealthy off Oscar De La Hoya, off fighting off a fucking Cobra punching bag. And he's fucking bitching here because he's not getting to fight anybody. And then this Gervonta Davis situation. So Davis is saying 200,000. He says he need that money back from me from buying that Ferrari. Stop trying to keep up, you broke boy. So then Garcia comes back saying, yeah, I get endorsement deals outside of boxing, something you don't know about because you hit women. So what Davis doesn't know that you get endorsement deals because you hit women. He's just a little fucking silly little kid, man. He's got too much too soon. And I'm going to predict he's going to wash out in boxing within the next 5 years. He's not going to be able to maintain it. He's talks too much shit. He's overinflated his own ego. His profile has been way overinflated of his punch bag situation he does. These young chicks that he's got retweeting him and following him on Instagram and whatever all this other shit and that. You earn it in the ring. That's all I'm going to say. And till that day comes, to me, he's still a little bitch. So Ryan Garcia, between him and Virginia Fuchs, probably my top 2 for this week.
Yes, I'm liking that one. Okay, so I am.
Oh, Marco Hook. Hook, sorry.
He's coming back, isn't he?
Yeah. He's wanting to fight in Tyson Fury. Apparently, he says I'm feeling fresh and healthy. He's put his injuries and other issues behind him. Yeah, okay, Marco. Listen, we've watched it at your prime. That ended at Povetkin, whenever that was 10 years ago. I was live, seeing you getting beat off Usyk. That was your last hurrah, mates. Fury would fucking tax you badly. So just retire.
Ames has sent me the Cali Solan thing, so I'm just watching it as we speak.
Go and play it.
Right. Let me have a look.
He's on the snort.
Hold on. We're gonna go for the first one. We're gonna go Phil Brady. Hey. Hello, mate. Phil Brady. Hey.
I think I've gone past it. I think it was at 2 minutes in.
I've watched it. It's on IFL, Andy.
Okay,
It's on IFL, Andy. I'll put it in the little chat so we can watch it.
Anyways, is he buzzing off his tits?
He's
No,
yeah,
no.
he's-
Is he on the proving? Is he on the proving poo?
No, you mate, you can now just watch it, and then
See-
we'll get your live reaction to the video.
Anyway, see when I was in Germany, I was talking to my mate Lewis. That his pal, I forget his pal's name is, but he listens to the podcast. He's German, right? And Germans haven't got a sense of humour. Just end that discussion right now. But because you know why? I'm walking along the road with him. And he says to me, he says, you need to stop talking about Cali Sterling being a cocaine addict on the podcast. I'm like, why is that? He says, because he doesn't do that much to cocaine. Well, I says, how the fuck do you know? He says, because he wouldn't be able to function. He says, do you really believe he does that much fucking cocaine that he runs an empire, he runs a tournament? I'm like, dude, I'm having a fucking joke. You just like calm the fuck down, you know? I think people are just like too serious to what we kind of say sometimes, you know?
Yeah, we're always upsetting somebody. Okay, Ozzy, I am torn between Ultimate Boxer and Virginia Fuchs. I'm going to go for Miss Fuchs, I think. I like that one. That's good good content.
Yeah.
Ultimate Boxer was a close second, and I think in another week they probably would have won.
Solid content, mate. That's just liquid content. That's what that is.
Hey, but this is boxing. We had one well-known fighter blame his dog for why he failed the drugs test recently.
Yes, true.
So, and it wasn't affiliated to Joe Gallagher either.
Think about it. Who was it, Steve? Was it Bert Cooper, or that claimed that he got plied with hookers and cocaine the night before he fought? Was it George Foreman? And no, it wasn't Bert Cooper.
It was either Cooper or Alex Stewart or somebody like that, I think, wasn't it?
And they're like, he was like on a cocaine binge for like 3 days and stuff, and like fucking the Hoors were like ODing. Oh, it's just like boxing. They don't want to come out with that shit, but. Yeah, Fuchs for me. I mean, they come out with that. That is like the best. I mean, I would like to think that our boyfriend's been blood tested recently just to prove the fact that he was juicing.
I don't know how they believe that excuse, though, man. It's hard to swallow, isn't it? Like?
Hard to swallow. I don't know, mate. I've never been there. But you know, sharing's caring, I suppose.
It was Tony Tucker, says Dave Tricks, Andy.
Tony Tucker. Okay.
Tony Tucker. Thanks very much. Right, congratulations to Miss Fuchs. You went for her as well, didn't you, Andrew?
Yes, I did.
Excellent. Well done. Big Belly of the Week award for you. If she wants to come on the pod, then she's more than welcome. We'll have anybody here. Some great guests tonight, including Clinton Woods. Good half an hour with Clinton. Really enjoyed that one. Go back and give it a listen. Take Ames as well. Came on to give us the lowdown with the Fraser Quendo WBA situation. Excellent story. Ames made a potentially boring story really interesting, and he's done a lot of digging. So go over and watch it at Boxing News TV, owned by friend of the pod, Ben. Check out Boxing's First as well. They're hanging around in the chat. Andy Ozzy's on Twitter, so am I. There was something else I was going to mention. Can't remember. Oh, yeah, sorry about all the shit at the beginning. I'll try and edit that out as best as I can. Yeah, I think we'll probably cut Clinton Woods out. Cut him out and stick him in a separate video, as we do from time to time, and stick it up on YouTube separately, maybe a little bit on Twitter as well. Anyway, boys, we shall finish up for the evening. I've been Steve Wellings. Catch you all again for episode 378. Same time, same place next week. Bye.
Woo!